Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright.
All right. Welcome back. Interesting session tonight. So a couple of things. We're gonna kind of be aggressive to jump back into the Skelling book. But in addition to jumping into the Skelling book, we're gonna also work on responding to a few things around the podcast, and then discuss some of the changes for next year. I want before the class ends, I want to kind of highlight some of the changes we're working on that will benefit the students in the class. With that being said, I wanted to kind of talk about briefly the podcast. I just want to highlight this one point. Let me pull this up real quick so I can make sure I quote these correctly. You know me, I'll quote something so wrong. I gotta make a head spin. Just one second, let me pull it up. You always get your homework in before I get a chance to. So, you're funny, Shabisha. I love you to death. Anyway, Brandy had brought up a point, and I want to thank her for bringing up this point. And let me see if I can read it to you guys so I can put it in. I want to make sure I'm in context. I don't want to start quoting points and then you guys be like, "That's not what she said." But she said. Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure I'm reading the right one. Hold on a second. Okay, okay, wait a minute. Did I mess it up or something? Hold on a second. I knew. Okay, I'm looking at my notes. Okay, her notes. Here you go. Okay, here you go. The number 2 podcast on market in 2019 was My Favorite Murder, a show hosted by 2 white women, mostly about crime against women and mostly consumed by women. Then she says, the number 1 was Joe Rogan, which is a crime in itself, in and of itself. There have been opponents to video games for years. So the question in my mind is not about the creation of the content. Almost every form of media consumed by this country is violent, but about the subsequent action of violence. Why is rap music the only one that has an action? So I'm sure you guys have always said, like, you know, when people bring up the violence in hip hop, people always argue, well, what about movies, or what about this, or what about that, and what about this? Here's the separation. There's no comparisons. A movie and hip hop and music that's being played nonstop. First of all, how frequent do you watch that movie? Now, if you watch that same movie, violent movies all day and all night and all day, I'm sure it could have the same results. But if you're watching music that is almost becoming more and more conservative with violence, meaning that it's trying to say who can be more violent time and time and time and time again. It's no different than if you ran a commercial on TV or your favorite Netflix show every 10 minutes. It's the exact same commercial. You can't escape the effects. Just nobody has that kind of money to run the same commercial. You know how much money you would have to run the same commercial every 10 minutes on a popular channel? You probably, I'm not sure if government regulations would permit that. Here's another thing you're not relating to. Hip hop is tied to status, which makes it a superpower. When you watch a white movie and people killing each other, that's not your culture. So it's not your story. So it's not you. When you watch hip hop, you're watching your story and people that look like you, sound like you, and behave like you. And after a while, if you pay attention to hip hop culture, it's become the status symbol of how we measure our value in our culture. Have you guys been to like a local school, like a junior, elementary or inner city school? The kids are mimicking hip hop characters non-stop, whether it's through clothes, whether it's through behavior, whether it's through speech. Hip hop has become almost a a story that creates status within our community. So it has 10 times more impact than violent, so forth and so on. 3, why is it that white kids can watch hip hop, listen to hip hop, and not have the same violent response? Yeah, you may have some extreme situations, right? But for the most part, they don't have the same response because it's not their culture. If you ran white culture back to back to back to back to back to back to back, let's say you ran like white music back to back to back, which is kill another white kid, kill another white kid, kill another white kid, which I'm sure now the FCC would intervene, which is kind of funny. Then you would see, I remember Andrew Dice Clay. Andrew, what's his name? Dice Clay, the comedian? His language had got so raunchy, they told him that's it, we're done with you, and took him off television. Because he wasn't black people's favorite comedian, he was white people's favorite comedian. But his level of language had gotten so intense, they shut him down on television. And as the guy highlighted, if you think you have this false sense of freedom, if it was just, you can just speak, violent all you want, then why is it Kanye is being sweated right now? Because you can't say what you want, except when it comes to you. I think one of the things he said in that podcast that was so powerful was that systemic racism is not about what you do, it's about the inactivity of what you don't do. When you leave it alone, it grows and expands, and all of us participate in its survival. It's so cold that if you told me, if I right now went to any local school in the Bay Area and said, I don't like hip hop, they would have me removed from the room. Doesn't matter if it's doing damage or not. They wouldn't even want to hear my Ohio article. So it's almost like poison has become sacred, where you can't touch it. Yet, we're not examining the impact it has. And what it is, and I'm talking about music purity, no, you're never going to have that. It's the 80-20 rule. Right now, the music has become too much on the other side, right? It's like, it's okay to have a Cardi B, but when Cardi B becomes the model for all female rappers, now we got a problem. As opposed to you have a Cardi B in hip hop, right? It's okay to have, I don't know these good, Future. But Future cannot be now the new trend of how we talk about things in hip hop, right? And the reality is that there's an imbalance. And on top of that too, you have FCC for FCC for television, right? It regulates it. So I can't go on television and just start saying all kind of bees, hoes, fuck all this and blah, blah, blah. They'll be like, no, beep, 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 get them up. That's too much, right? I'm gonna fine you if you don't get down off the radio, TV or whatever. But you can still use the N-word on the radio. I should let you know that's just the lens on protecting you and your culture. It's designed to protect this culture over here. Now, I'm not mad at that because I don't think nobody's supposed to take care of us. That's our responsibility. But what it comes down to is that we got to start realizing that that's a thing. If you don't govern yourself or create governing systems, you can't expect each individual to hold up the responsibility of a healthy culture. It's not possible. That's what government does. It steps in places where individuals can't because we don't have the willpower to. Right? Like if you didn't regulate certain things in society, like alcohol, alcohol is regulated. Marijuana is becoming regulated, right? Because once again, the issue is that once it gets to a point it is just too widely used, look at pills and fentanyl, regulated. Why? Because you can't tell the people stop taking fentanyl. And they just know that. You can't morally shame them into regulating it. At some point you have to start saying, this is against the law, you can't have access to this, I need a license for this, you only get this much if you receive it. Right? I have asthma, right? So if I need another thing on Buterol, I can't go to Kaiser and be like, yo, let me get another Buterol real quick, I lost mine. I gotta call my doctor, tell my doctor, hey, I lost my Buterol, because she has to make sure in the regulation I'm not abusing it, trying to use it to subsidize my asthma. So, because otherwise I will kill myself because I will overuse it. She wants to make sure that I'm using all my prevention solutions and only use albuterol in extreme. If you're using albuterol as maintenance, you're endangering yourself to die from asthma. Now, I can't regulate that. She's not giving me freedom of choice. She's regulating my choices, even though I pay her to be my doctor. You guys get with this? Like this hip hop. When I remember it was maybe 15 years ago, I went to Burbank and I walked into an elementary class. These kids don't know what gangster is like that. But they were all gangster. It was so many gangsters and talking shit and not giving a damn, and it's gotten worse. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse because they're told at a young age, if you want to have high status in this school, you got to be more gangster or you got to be more hip hop-ish or you got to be more whatever these roles are dictated to you. And there is no financial even resistance to this behavior. And remember I said in class, like, we're so busy paying attention to things that don't matter, right? Little small things, like whether it's this person said a racist thing or this person had a racist act, right? But what's it called? Something race theory? What's that thing that, critical race theory. I respect the principle of critical race theory. Critical race theory is saying the individual prejudiced behavior is not our focus. It's the systemic racism that should be our focus. But in order for you to understand systemic racism, you have to know how to look for that. Otherwise, it becomes this invisible devil that's constantly killing your community and you can't even see it. And what social justice does, it takes us to the opposite sides of critical race theory, which Derek Bell, I think who created critical race theory. It takes us to the other side where now we're paying attention to like pronouns and did you recognize my gender or did you, what, right, what? And critical race theory says there are bigger ecosystem things out there. And what I liked about this video was that video to me was a video of Black Lives Matter. That's a true Black Lives Matter. But you look at the social justice version of Black Lives Matter, and what would you say that looks like? Not a goddamn thing besides some goddamn banners to put in your grass and appeal to the fact that you're just trying to get people to unconsciously understand what Black Lives Matter, but they have no context. Where the other side, which the guy was speaking, which would fit in the category of critical race theory that comes from black folks who work around black folks' issues, said is that, hey, let's look for these systems. And isn't that strange that every radio station you turn on from West Coast to East Coast, the only group that sings songs of like consistently of self-destruction is black people, and we're the #1 homicide group in America, but we only represent 14%. That's insane. That even when he brought out that like between the ages of what he said, 17 to 30 or some well, I forgot the range of the age he said, but he said that the #1 reason for death for these young men at that age is homicide, and #1 reason for death for white boys is accidents. Like, I mean, imagine what that feels like when you walk down the street and the #1 reason that this person get killed is because of an accident. That means you're not really worrying about people. Anybody ever walk through East Oakland and tell me you don't think about people? You're not worried about if you step on a crack and you fall and you get hurt. You're not worried about if you touch if a line falls, it may shock the shit out of you. Right? You're not worried about well, you might be a little bit worried if somebody jump off the curb and hit you, but for the most part, the #1 thing you worry about in East Oakland is setting somebody off. Do you realize that most white people in America don't worry about that? That's some crazy shit. Yet our music is selling it. It's not even. We've always had issues of violence in our community, but we also had hip hop at one time. It was a different ratio balance where Cass was talking about, you're headed for self-destruction. Look at all the music that surrounded that kind of tone, right? And now the music is more aimed at, you don't give a fuck, and if I have to, I'd take another black person out. You're not even talking about killing KKK. You're not talking about killing white supremacy. You're talking about killing yourselves. That's insane. And we normalize it to the point that we don't even hear, because we desensitize to death. Meaning that somebody died today. When I was young, if somebody died, we talked about it for about 2 months. Now somebody died, it's lucky if it gets a week. Sometimes we even get a day. because there's somebody else ready to die tomorrow that we didn't anticipate. And we're so used to Black Death that we learned to even morally rationalize it. What did he do? Which is now we're so micro, where you need to go more, not macro, but meta. In order for you to see systemic racism, you have to be able to step back meta and go, wait a minute. I understand how you feel about it, which is micro. Macro might be, I understand where it comes from and who runs it. Meta is, which is the ecosystem. How is this impacting the human behavior that's most impacted by this? Like, think about this. Before hip hop music, how did the Black person say, I'm valuable to white culture? Huh? Sports, yeah. Jobs. Degrees. So where did I leave the poor Black person? Invisible. A human being loses all their status is the most painful way for a human being to exist. It can kill you early. Hip hop gave the person who had no voice value. But now and hip hop just doesn't hit poor Black kids. Don't get that shit twisted. It's hitting poor to rich Black kids. Parents who are middle class raising their kids. Used to be time a middle class kid go bad, it was one, say, I'm gonna give a rough ratio, but say 1 out of 100 would go bad. You're like, oh, I know this one dude, he had a good house, and he got in that shit. And I don't understand why he got, everybody's like, I don't understand why he got in there, right? Because most of the kids was going in another direction. That ratio changed with hip hop. There's a epidemic happening in this country of people going, we're losing our kids. Because the culture of hip hop is stronger than the individual act. Go ahead, Shabisha.
Are we more, or today, are we more concerned with being like white people today than we were in generations past?
I don't think we ever stopped. I think we just transformed that same energy. I think we've always wanted to be accepted by white people, right? Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, because it's a status game, right? It's the ultimate American status game is when white people go, we value you, right? And because we haven't built our own internal value system, because we've been trampled, our offices have always been destroyed. And so, whether it was back in the 60s, it was, going back to the 50s and we conked our hair and we tried to look as much like them as we could, or whether it's in 2020 and we try to identify with that entertainment character they like. Do you understand how they treat you when you hip hop? How people treat you when you walk around when you hip hop? You're a Black kid born in East Oakland. You're trying to survive, so you got to think about what is your theory of control. One theory is going to be control is that I got to come out and be hard, otherwise somebody going to take me down. So I'm forced into this theory. You might have been a fucking scientist waiting to be made, but you got to survive. So it's not a demonization of nobody. It's kind of like the survival of poverty. Number two, then as you do that, you also are attracted to somebody sexually. And so then that comes down to who gets the most attention. Well, now we're back in that conversation again. If you're a young lady and you dressing like you from Nation of Islam and everybody's looking at Cardi B, guess what your temptation is like? If you're a dude and everybody's talking about Kodak Black, I'm about to make my move, right? So at the end of the day, we have all these things that are pulling on us because remember, we're instinctual animals that need status. And so if we're not paying attention to the status game that's aimed at our communities, that's hitting our community, and I don't want to get to like who caused it at fault. I want to get at focus on changing and being aware of it and creating solutions, not good versus bad. I'm not about to call any rapper bad. I'm not about to do that. But all these things that's impacting our status and attacking our human instinct, you start to see, that's systemic racism. Systemic racism says that your grandchildren are going to be like your grandparents. That's what systemic racism says. You may change their expression, but your grandchildren will be like your grandparents.
Lily would like to know, what do you mean by that?
Huh?
Lily would like to know, what do you mean by that?
About my grandchildren would be my grandparent?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are a working class people in this country. We haven't got to a point to be a ruling class. So in order for us to go from working class to a ruling class, we're going to have to change our stories and our mindsets, right? Our stories and our minds. Like, how do we tell? Who are we? What stories we tell ourselves? And man, the power of stories is crazy. I mean, the power of stories is just fucking crazy. But anyway, so your grandparents told themselves a story, and they had an outcome. If we don't change that story, we're going to have the same outcome. We may have a different outcome based upon the trends that's happening, but we're still following that same story, right? It's like in 1960s, everybody knows about 1960s to death. They ran those commercials, so they run that story so much at you that if you don't know, like they bringing back, what's the kid that got killed, got stumped to death? Emmett Till. They bringing that shit back. I don't need you to bring that shit back. But they run the same story over and over and over and over and over and over. So then we indoctrinate the youth of this generation a story that all you're doing is living out the story that's been ran since Emmett Till over and over and over and over and over and over, right? You get to hope and you're like, this class feels weird because I'm introducing you to another story, which is those stories are not true. It's not true. They're just stories. They're no different than Santa Claus. They're not true. Santa Claus works if you believe in it, and it doesn't work if you don't believe in it. It's just not true. And so we're not breaking the story. If you get around a whole bunch of black people, we'll start. If you want to talk about white people around black people, we have the same responses. But we have the same responses our grandparents had. How the fuck you'll make progress? You got to change the story. You got to say to yourself, wait a minute, what about this story is actually true or not? And then how do we rewrite new stories to encourage the new generation and do something different?
First of all, this video was crazy. But what I wanted to bring up is the thing that stuck out to me was the murder piece of it. Not so much the hip hop part of it, but the murder piece of it. And I think for the first time, I got a chance to kind of see my response to that. Mm-hmm. And it emotionally, it was like, mentally I went on a trip, but like physically I could feel how bothered I was by all of it. But because it's very uncomfortable to look at that. And I looked at the ways that I was trying to make excuses to get distance from what it was showing to me. From like, sometimes defense is like saying, but what about this? But my defense was like, but there's so many things that are unregulated in our current, like the stories of like, there's so many things that are unregulated in our current culture. Social media is unregulated. Music is there's all these things, and how overwhelming that was feeling.
When you say so many things are not regulated?
Like unregulated. Like we don't regulate social media. It's just running rug shot all over everything. And we're like 2 decades, and now we're like, oh shit, maybe there's a problem here. But at this point, we haven't really looked at that. It just went out there, and then 20 years, 30 years later, we're like, maybe we have a problem. So the ways that things can get out there, and then we kind of look at the impact on humans in hindsight. For me, I was like, oh, that feels so overwhelming. And I'm like, oh, my mind is creating ways to make me comfortable with what I'm doing. And then the ways in which, like, my way of doing it has been just to ignore it and to not engage in it up until the video. So it kind of crashed all of that in, like, I'm not in those neighborhoods like that. I don't have to do, but you never really can't engage it, right? So I recorded all of this, like I wanted to just capture it all because I couldn't write it fast enough. So I just flipped on Otter and just recorded all of the ways in which my brain was kind of trying to get me to get distance from it. And then even like, what do I do about it? And I was like, that's another place where my brain is trying to relieve the pressure of like, I don't want to have to see it. What I will say is not that, like I feel like I got to the end of anything, but it gave me a lot more compassion for myself, but a lot more compassion for people in general, because we're having to confront something we don't really have the tools for. In hope we do, but if I'm outside of this space, I don't have the tools for how to process this shit.
Well, yeah, actually you do. So I'm glad you said that. So first of all, how many of us like to hit our goals? Anybody in this room? Okay, at least get some honesty. Anybody else like to hit their goals? Okay, okay, Shakina's goal is real low right today, but everybody else go kind of high, right? Okay, everybody get the goal. Okay, cool. But you know, most of your happiness doesn't come from the goal. It comes in from the pursuit. We sat in this class many times, be like, I'm not sure what my purpose is. I'm not sure what my purpose is. The question is, are you tuned in? Are you tuned in? Are you fucking tuned in? Like, I think it was 2 years ago in Hope, I kept saying, 700 people that got killed in Chicago. What the fuck are we paying attention to? 700 homicides in Chicago. What the fuck are we talking about? And I don't think nobody moved like I was like, yo. And I hold that information every chance I get. But it's my coal that's sitting outside of my, that's sitting in my train to keep my train running. So those days I'm like, oh, I don't feel like working on this shit. Yo, black people are dying. What the fuck you doing, bro? And what you find is that the quality of your life goes up. Your personal life goes up when you serve a higher purpose. It gives you live longer, you live healthier, you live a higher quality of life, you live a happier life by showing up for others. We should be raising all of our kids to say, you have to give back to your communities, otherwise you can't continue to rape the land, and that's the land to produce fruit for you. The way the land produces fruit for you, because you're always planting and giving back to it. But we've become so disconnected and so narcissistic. All we talk about is what I feel. Yesterday I felt, but today I feel, but tomorrow I feel. Next week I'm going to feel. I feel like, I don't know what's wrong with my feelings. I'm going to a spa. I work with my feelings. Fuck wrong with you? Like, black people, you have no power. You have no governance. You had no organization to say, hey, hip hop, do that shit again, we finding you, bro. Hey, corporations, anybody goes after this group here, we coming for you, bro. Like, I applaud the Jewish community. Absolutely applaud them. Doesn't matter if you agree or disagree. Irrelevant. I applaud them. They're governing their community. That's healthy behavior. White folks, they govern their community. Go too far. They told their president, you can't tweet. Tell me that ain't done. President, hey, I understand you're president shit. I understand you're the number one cat in the United States. You not coming here, though. You guys understand where I'm going with this? Like, you hold it to understand how does this goal you're going for help others besides you. You don't, once you stop holding the bigger story of what we're going through as a people, how do you keep your momentum? How do you avoid your distractions? I don't know about you, but I'm like a mentally damaged person in a fun house. I just keep looking around. I don't have much focus, but the way I maintain my focus is by living for something bigger than me. None of himself. It ain't looking good, y'all. It ain't looking good. None of where your focus at, huh? I've already changed my mind, huh? But when I live for something else, I override me all the time. Today I was running the stairs at Joaquin Miller. I hate the fucking stairs. I hate the stairs more than I hate bad makeup on a young woman. Hate it. But I do it every week because it's for something better than me. I have a daughter called Nzinga. I'm going to be here as long as I can for her. When you live for something bigger than yourself, you'll be surprised what you can do. And yet, many of you guys are relying upon willpower as your only tool of motivation or happiness. You know how weak happiness is to lean on for motivation to get shit done? You think I'm happy all the motherfucking time? Hell to the no. You think I want to do this shit all the time? Hell no. Okay, y'all really don't know me, but you know how many times I've been call somebody a punk ass bitch or fuck you, and I override that? All the time. All the time. Because I'm living for something bigger than me. But if I was living for me, y'all probably wouldn't fuck with me no more. Y'all, nope. You wouldn't talk to me no more. Because as soon as y'all did some shit to irritate me, get your bitch ass in my face. I have it in my heart. But I have to tell myself, shut the fuck up now. You can't be saying that kind of stuff. Look at this person. Stop trying to judge them like that. Try to have more empathy. Take time to ask a question. You may learn something. I have to have that long ass conversation a lot. Because my impulse is hit people in the mouth. That's how I grew up. Man, I wish I was watching when I was playing basketball when I was younger. Keep talking shit. And I ain't gonna do all that arguing like, we're not in TV. I'm like, I'm going to hit you if you keep talking. Nope. Say it one more time. It's gonna be the fastest. It'll be the Draymond Green. Whop, whop. Time to go to sleep, right? But the reality was that, why don't I do that? Because I'm serving greater purposes. So I distance myself further and further to the point I don't even romanticize it. I don't even want to watch movies that do that. I don't want to be around people who behave like that because I'm living a different agenda, a different goal, but the goal is bigger than me. You cannot live a life based upon you because you Mickey Ficky. Matter of fact, let me give you all some cold-blooded game. Most of y'all are running from yourselves. You lie to yourself every day about your flaws, your perversions, your desires. You don't have to worry about nobody else's sin. You've got to run from your sins every goddamn day. I sit with my sins. I sit with all my thoughts, and I use them. I turn them into ways to fuel myself to go to the next level. You dig where I'm going with that? So I'm trying to get you guys to expand your, like, when you watch that video, you have to ask yourself, well, why are black people killing each other like that? Well, if you wanted to get anybody to do anything in America or anywhere in the world, what tools would you use to influence people's behavior? I'll wait for you. You guys should answer this question so fast, it should blow your mind. What tools would you use to influence other human beings' behavior? The number one tool, what system? Huh? No. What system would you use to influence behavior? I understand you, Pim. You got that Oakland in you. Money? Shit. Money. Nah, money, baby. I understand, Flair. Go ahead. I got that fur on back there. But anyway, go ahead. So, outside of money, what else in it? She went to straight pimp mode. Shit, money. But what would you influence? If you had to influence a large group of people, you see it all the time. Huh? Pimp, y'all got something here now. I don't know what the hell going on back there. Manipulation. No, marketing. What do commercials do every day? Look at all the clothes you got on. You think you just chose that shit because you just woke up? I was born. I just knew I needed a Crenshaw sweatshirt. No, you didn't. Marketing. So then pay attention to what marketing is hitting your community. That's why the video was so tight. You being ran this high level of marketing towards devaluing the male and the female. You've been since early hip hop. You've been devalued. Men are just now catching up to devaluing, but they devalue women out the gate. You was in them ugly ass bikinis back in the Tupac videos. There was some ugly ass bikinis, boy. Like this is bikinis. You be like, I really want to say you're cute, but them bikinis just really bothering me right now. So, but the matter is that, like, to go back to those days, you were saying don't say shit. Just move your hips with that whack ass dance you should never do at a club by yourself. And all of a sudden, I'm gonna be looking hella hard in front of you, right? The 112 video changed it all. I'm just saying. Anyway, point is this. So that was just cold talk, 112, so anyway, So nothing. So Then now men are in a so we're in a self-destruction rhythm. And we celebrate self-destruction. We've made it sacred. Pay attention to what is being marketed to you. When you watch a movie, what is being marketed to you? When you watch TV, what's being marketed to you? Has Black lives ever been celebrated? Now, if Black Lives Matter was driving this kind of conversation, I might fuck with them. But that social justice shit is not critical race theory. It's social justice. Go ahead.
Tavita asked a question. She said,
Tavita, what's up with you?
She said, question.
By the way, Tavita is a hell of a thinker. I said, you know, if I smoke weed, I would invite Tavita over to my house because she would have my brain fucked up. But go ahead. That's a very smart sister. Go ahead.
How would you structure a conversation with the youth about the impact of music lyrics and hip hop culture? What would the three most important components be?
Okay, first of all, let me say, see, that's Tavita shit right there. Because Tavita asks the questions that are not simple. Because first of all, it's a strategy. So Tavita, what we would do is sit down and do this. Do we change the status game where the hip hop loses its value? Do we change the stories around hip hop to give the most common person the language to talk about it? Right? Because the stories is how human beings, you shift masses. It's not by, the masses don't learn from mental models. They learn from the stories that come from the mental models. You know what the sole purpose of religion for human beings? It's to build a story to control the group. To build a story to control the group. If you don't have a central story, human beings will either kill each other or we'll just splinter and destroy whatever the fuck we have. So you build a central story to control the group. This is what religions, this is the whole purpose of religions. They're full of stories, but those stories are usually tied to the utility the group needs for survival. This is why everybody in this room is religious. Democrat, Republican, hip hop, gangster, thug, black from Oakland. As a black person, that's all religions. Those are stories you tell. In the 90s, we became story Puritans because we took on the educated foolishness of discrediting stories. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. That's not true. I don't know if that's true. And we tore down the stories that were holding people together. Before you had mental health program, you had stories that kept people mentally healthy. You talk about mental health today, imagine what slaves went through. Imagine what Jim Crow black folks went through. Imagine what folks went through do COINTELPRO, but their stories kept them functioning. And then we get to the 80s and 90s, and we rip apart all those stories. Oh, Christianity is lies, and Islam, I don't know about that either. And I'm just spiritual with no story. And the Black Panther, this person lied, and I don't know about Malcolm X. And, he kind of didn't say this right, and Martin didn't really say that right. We need stories, people. And they don't need to be true. You saw it with Woman King, how everybody acted a fucking fool. Well, the story's not accurate. No, you need stories. They're never going to be accurate. The sole purpose of a story is a utility. It's a tool. Nana, why are you telling us this in a business class? I just gave you some fucking game. What story does your product and service tell? That we get people to rally your employees to show up every day and go to work and all be in sync. Or have your employees start to tell themselves different stories and splinter, and now you have friction in the office, and you have a down your performance is just dropped in your company because it's a split in stories. I just gave you hella game. That's hella game. And black people, you haven't been protecting your stories because you didn't understand the power of stories. So you let white people then come in and start telling you, I'm gonna tell you another version of Emmett Till that we thought is important. No, fuck you not. I need Preacher or the brother on the corner, Court Smith, to give me those stories. And then we need to spread those stories. And then we have to have stories for our kids to celebrate. And this is how you have a culture. It's based upon stories. You know what gossip is? Gossip is a form of stories of how we train each other. Now, should you loosely gossip? No. Gossip has to be regulated. Too much gossiping destroys anything. But when you're at the office and people are gossiping, you know what they're telling you? They're telling you the consequences of you breaking the rules of the story we're following. Man, Court was in the office the other day, man, and he left early and shit. You hear what happened to him? I just told you don't leave the office early by gossiping. But yet, you have to sit back and go, hey, who's protecting the black story? How often are white people reinterpreting your story and giving it back to you? Now y'all see how powerful that shit is? The only reason you are cool, look, the only reason you are sleeping with whoever you're sleeping with is a story. Ain't no God requirement of that. The only reason you feel good or bad about it is a story. There's no God requirement about that. The only reason you stay home with your kids after you dropped them out of your body is a story. The only reason as a father you may have showed up or didn't show up is a story. Change that story and all those rules change. Now, am I trying to rip stories from you? No, I'm trying to tell you that one, if you're going to build anything, you're going to have to become a story master. You have to always pay attention to stories that's happening in your company and it's happening with your customers. You got to pay attention to what stories your customers are telling about your company when they talk about your company. And in that story, that's where your power is at. And if you want to grow your company, if you want to grow your impact, you want to grow your leadership, if you want to watch systems grow and fall, watch the stories they tell. Think about if you get a chance, think about your favorite top strong company, the company like this is one of the strongest companies I know. And then go look at their story game. And most of their story game is making you the hero. If you come buy this service and products, you're going to be a hero. Nike uses all these heroes in sports. We're a hero-based company. We make hero products. You wear these good. If you want to be a hero, just do it. Hear it? The story, the hero game is so much fucking power, is ridiculous. But now when you hear about that and you look at your own community, what's your story, people? So if you want to impact young people, who controls the status and story game in that school? Or are kids coming to school with their outside stories, invading the school system, and the school doesn't really have a story, and now the outside story system is corrupting the school system? Have you got new teachers who are coming there who have a different story, social justice story, totally disconnected from the kids they seek to serve, don't even see black boys? Does their story service your story? Are you paying attention to why those teachers are there and what conversations they're having? Are they over there talking about, it's unfair to bully, when black people have to walk into a world that we always feel like we're being bullied, to the point where we have to become numb to it, don't even see it anymore? Pastor Mike.
A story that I think is being told in schools is like teachers and students feel like the information is outdated, so I don't need to learn, I don't need to focus, I don't need to try. Because why do I need to pay attention? This stuff can't be applicable.
Go even deeper than that. You gotta go deeper than that. You gotta go.
Okay.
If you find out what's sacred to people, you know who they are. The way you want to, okay, rationality is not equal. Everybody in this room has different rationality. Like one thing I get a chance to see when you guys send me your homework is to see your different forms of rationality. And it warms my heart because we have hella diversity in this class. We don't have one way of thinking. We have a lot of beautiful people who think a lot of different ways. And even if I disagree or I see a flaw in it, I'm still smiling because I see the brilliance behind it, right? But the difference is also linked to a story you tell yourself about yourself. So if you don't pay attention to what's sacred to the teachers and what's sacred to the students, what you're talking about is the outcome of a deeper story. It's a story, but it's the outcome of a deeper story they're telling themselves. Teacher, why are you here? What do you believe in? What matters to you? What are you living for? You like if you're in a room, what do you feel is different about yourself? What do you think is different about others? Once you find out what's sacred to that person, then you can almost map out all their actions from that point forward. It almost makes you feel like you're a super god. Man, this is kind of meta. I'm going real meta for a minute, but I'm about to be done because I'm going to jump into this lesson. We good?
Yes.
We good? We good? We good? Okay. I'm going to pause there because, did you want to say something? Okay. Let's jump to the class. Let me go back to the slides. Everybody, everybody receive the link for the slides? You might have to look at because we still ain't got the college to work with us on how to work the system, and I still ain't got Shakina to get up there and start rewiring anything. So we stuck right now. So everybody has the slides. Okay, cool. Should we ready to do this? Yeah. All right, as they say in Brooklyn, let's get this shit started.
The researchers had specifically sought out adolescent women to participate in the original studies. While the treatment benefited their particular physiology, these health gains didn't manifest at a larger scale with a broader population. Not everyone with iron deficiency anemia is an adolescent girl, so if the intervention wasn't meant exclusively for them, it never should have been tested exclusively in them in the first place. Similar failures have occurred elsewhere, attempting to scale initiatives to decrease rates of STD transmission and promote safe sex due to variations in community mores related to sex.
So what this is saying, if you want to test an idea before you launch an idea, which you should always test anything you're gonna put a lot of money into, you got to make sure that the crowd you test with represents the crowd you're trying to serve. You might think, oh, that's common sense. Shabisha could tell you, because she worked with 510 Media for a couple of years, that's unheard of. Most people forget to do that all the time. They get locked. For example, you may have, let's say we're working on a solution of HIV. They would test something for around HIV with white gay males and then turn to the black and Latino gay males and go, here you go. Same campaign, just change the skin color, and wonder why it doesn't work. Then come back and go, I don't understand why black people and Latinos not showing up. And then you have the black people and Latinos on the fringes who will show up in the room and be screaming at them. And now white people feel victimized, they feel hopeless, and they just throw a whole bunch of money in it. And then they hire a weak firm who doesn't really see any of these variables, and they just try to make it even feel a little bit more blacker. And guess what? People are underserved. Okay, let's go to the business side. Majority of American market is white. So it makes sense that modern research first focuses on a large chunk of the market. But as we know, you don't need the whole market to be successful. If you just take less than 0.08 of the market, you're filthy rich. 0.8, I'd say 0.8. And so because of that, there's huge black and Latino and people, so-called, I hate the word people of color, but just use it for the sake of just wrapping your mind around it. There's variations of people, different groups in America. As you identify that group, if you're going to build an idea or product, you can't test it with just your family and then try to take it to a market. You can't test it with your young people you know and then try to sell it to the older people. You can't test it with older people and try to sell it to the young people. You got to try to find people or diverse groups to get the proper feedback on your, even getting feedback from a mentorship. You can't go to a whole bunch of old cats and you serving young people. You got to be able to diversify your feedback loop to improve your testing to see if your product can survive. Carvana, it's dying on a vine. It's dying so fast. You look at how fast, I think they lost $8 billion in 1 year. Let me help you. Okay, because some of y'all be, some of y'all fancy. 8,000 million in 1 year. Because the market they were serving, their product was designed for a particular time, era, and market. As that market shifts, all that money's gone. All that money's gone. Right now, we were talking about this before class, there's a surplus of products, of all products on the market right now. This should be the best. If you got money, this is going to be the best holiday shopping you've ever done in your life. And the reason they have an over surplus is because businesses adjusted to the buying rhythms of COVID. COVID has so much free money floating around. Think about how much money the government poured into the communities. right? Whether it was through companies or whether it's through individual checks. Think about the jobs people had that hadn't started laying people off as of yet, right? Think about the amount of money you were saving from not commuting. Thinking about people who weren't paying rent, they were going out and buying cars. Now, the rate of people who are at least 2 months behind has spiked so high, it's ridiculous. Meaning all those cars are about to come to the market. In addition to that, people are not buying cars because interest rates went up because of the inflation. Then, on top of the interest rate not going because the interest rate's going because of inflation, the economy is starting to hit a recession. So car purchases have seriously dipped, as well as other computer stuff is dipped. Everything's dipped. And guess what warehouse is doing? They're filling up because they shipped. Okay, we backed up. Send me more. Send me more. Send me more. Send me more. And no one said, "Hey, how can we gap this?" And it's not an individual ignorance. It's just human mistakes, human errors. So the reality is that when you test an idea and you're trying to grow something in a business, you have to be able to say, "Okay, we got momentum, but let's look at the profile of the customer during this era. Is this really our customer? Or is this just a burst of opportunities? And if we make this money, let's save it because this probably won't last long." Our real customer looks like. You have to always have your finger on the pulse of who's your real customer. Don't get caught up in the momentum of your company because you might just be caught in an era of something happening and think you're doing, like what a lot of black people right now think they're business owners because they got a lot of free money during George Floyd, only to find out they can't make the money back to save their fucking lives. But they've been walking around with entrepreneur tattooed on their fucking chest all day long with big ass V-necks. Huh? Oh yeah, they started to fall at enormous rates. All these nonprofits that where people walk around and they were talking very professional and snobbing you when you try to talk to them, like they knew what they were fucking doing, they're folding because they didn't have the skills. But it's okay if they would have got that money and then said, okay, that money is a hype cycle, it's not real, and identify their customers. So you have to always keep your fingers on the pulse. You have to be obsessed with customers. Make it simple. If you're obsessed with customers, you're more obsessed with your product, your service, and your customers, you're not gonna make it. So again, if you're more obsessed with your products or your service or you and your feelings than your customer, you're not gonna make it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was piggybacking off earlier when you were talking about the heroes, right? And if you make the customer the hero, more than likely you're gonna be good. But a lot of times entrepreneurship folks will make themselves a hero of the business and then be confused why nobody's fucking with it, or because they position themselves as a hero. Well, if you're the hero, then the customers don't need to be there then. And so it goes back around to like marketing and business and everything. You have to be pointing at and being obsessed with the customer, who they are.
Yeah, and it's not. And here's the thing: don't feel bad if you've been making yourself a hero. If you've been on a hero's journey all the time. First of all movies are about hero's journey, and many of us want to be the superstars of our own movie. And it's been sold to you since when you was a little kid. Pixar was selling you hero stories, right? Then you're in a culture right now that people are not being raised to give back. This is all racist. They're living a life of trying to become the next hero. And so that sets you up for poverty. And for those who understand the business, it's a hell of a market. Because all these people running around trying to be heroes, I just built a product to make you closer now? I helped you get there. I don't know if you guys buy clothes. Look, so when I was, say, younger, you bought something, you rocked it. You wore it to death. You wore it to the point that you had holes coming into it that you'd be like, oh my God. But the hero game in marketing and clothing is so strong, it's hard to even care about something more than a week. It's that crazy. The average lifespan of clothes is about 3 months. It's a short ass lifespan now. Like people will wear it only so many times before they were like, I'm not gonna wear it anymore because you don't feel like a hero no more. It's a game. And once again, it's not here. I'm not trying to judge the game because I know some of y'all brains trying to say, oh, good, bad, good, because some of y'all may need to play that game. Court has to play that game Corey can't come in there and be like, you know what? I think Stephon Marbury did that stuff when I'm gonna make these shoes that everybody don't have to spend a lot of money, and it's like, does anybody want them damn shoes? Because they ain't gonna get no status. When I put on Jordans, it says I can afford Jordans. If I put on Stephon Marbury, it says I might be broke. I'm not wearing those shoes. So you got to play the game. It's just that some of y'all don't know that's a game that's being played. And so y'all get played all the time, but y'all don't never play the game. Pimping. Next slide. This example.
This example highlights that there is always the risk or temptation that researchers may deliberately seek out a specific population that stands to benefit most from the program, product, or medication in order to show large effects.
So real quick, this is what happens in companies all the time. This would happen with you, or if you have a team. Like, so this might not happen with you as an individual, but let's say you grow a team, and Shabisha has a big ass ego, and she's trying to use the company to raise her status, which most of your employees are doing that anyway. It is what it is. So you send Shabisha out to test if her product is ready to go to the market. Shabisha will find a small segment that will give her overwhelming response. Then she'll show that overwhelming response to the management team. They'll be like, whoa. They push it nationwide and it dies on the vine. Pow! Because that market she pointed out was 0.0000002, right? But that 0.2 makes a beautiful report. It was 5,000 people said they loved it, but it has no value to the market, right? Now, how do you do it on a smaller scale? You start an idea and you find people who are like-minded. They live their life based on the same story you live your life by. And you find people within that bubble and you say, hey, everybody in the bubble, look at my product. Everybody's like, oh my God, it is great. And let's say you doing good for like 1 or 2 years, you make enough money where you're making, say, 20 grand a month. It feels good. You're like, okay, cool, I'm getting response. And in that 20 grand, you realize they're not really bringing you new customers. They're bringing you more of the same people within the same circle. Once you decide to expand to go nationwide, statewide, whatever, you're going to find out there's no market for you, or you don't know where to find your market because you got a false positive from that small market you were serving. And as soon as they change their personality, you're gone. There's no modularity. Remember we talked about modularity where you have different modules of your company. So if one module falls, you're still surviving, a form of redundancy. It's because you're over-serving one particular group of people. And if that group decides if that group says, oh, we're no longer attracted to you, we're attracted to this person now, you're fucked again. Keep going.
Since this can increase the chance of public recognition and further funding or investment. Likewise, it may be less expensive to convince people to participate in a study if those people expect to benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
So some researchers might see it as a win-win, better results at a lower cost.
So even when you're doing your market research, the reason we do ethnography research is because, first of all, people are not one thing. No matter what, if I went around this room and just called you something, I ain't who I am. Of course that's not who the fuck you are. It's stupid that you said that. You're very complex. Everybody in this room, we're a lot of things. We're balanced of a lot of different things. Matter of fact, me and Shabisha can have all the same characteristics, but what makes us different is the variations of I'm 60% this, 80% this, she's 40% this, 60% this, and that balance of moving those numbers around is where our differences come in, right? So the reason we do ethnography research, which is observation, and we want to go to people's houses, because you want to see who they are in different spaces of their life. I might be militant when I leave the house, and I might be super soft when I'm in my kitchen. I might be a Democrat in the living room, and I might be a dictator in the big bedroom. You understand me? So it's like, you understand? It all makes sense once you put it all together. You understand? But the point is this. But the point is that with all that being said, people are very, very complex. So when you're trying to move a product and service, maybe I'm buying your product for the bedroom. I need to dictate this product. But when you see me out, but if you see me in the kitchen, I'm soft. Yeah, that's not my market. You really don't know your market until you get into deeper observations. And so how do you get to deeper observations without being able to go to everybody's house? You got to learn how to listen to their small talk and not direct their small talk. So let's say Tish comes over here and starts to talk to me. If I'm targeting her as a customer, I'm going to be more inquisitive with her than trying to impress her. If I try to impress her, which a lot of us do this, then what's going to happen is instead of me hearing her and hearing her different personalities jump into the conversations, which should be some contrasts and contradictions. But if I'm trying to impress you, there's a couple things going to happen. I don't hear you. You don't get a chance to speak. I'm leading the conversation, so I don't get a chance to know shit about you. And I'm intimidating certain parts of your personality for not showing up. So, for example, if you meet me at my house and you're not my customer, I might make you feel uncomfortable to be soft if you're a dude. But if you're my customer, you won't feel soft. You won't feel uncomfortable about anything. Because my job is to try to figure out who are you, where's the value of this person in my market. And you might buy Court Smith to go to bed at night, and Court makes billions off of his bedwear, but you never buy his jersey to wear in public. It's real talk. Remember 7-Eleven at one point was going away and then coffee saved 7-Eleven? What's coffee have to do with their core products they've advertised all these years? It's not their core product. So you don't know your customer. Learning your customer is not trying to project onto the customer who they should be also. It's learning to really listen, watch your customer and what they watch. Okay. If human beings didn't move to stories, the movie industry wouldn't work. Entertainment industry would not work. Because how could somebody make a movie if we're that much of a variation? Disney would make no money at all because it'd just be too many people like, I can't, wait a minute, no. It's like there's certain things Disney could do for 2 hours and we all go along with it. And it made all of our stories work. So it's not complex as your brain may be tempted to make it right now, where you think you have to know every little small detail and be like, well, Court likes milk chocolate, none of likes dark chocolate, so at the end of the day, they're not my same customer. Yes, we are. Because he might be at my house and be like, yo, let me get one of those pieces. Does that seeds? Let me get some of that. Right? He goes, yeah, I use it like dark chocolate, but shit, if it's in front of me, I buy it. And he's like, oh, I like that one. Shit, I like that seeds now. Now you find you got a conversion. Right? But so what I'm saying is that by default, if you listen to people, you start hearing these common stories they're telling. You start hearing how they're the heroes. You start seeing their plots, their character development, and you start seeing where your product and services fit right in that right space. You know exactly how your commercials need to look. You know how your content needs to look. You know how your copy needs to be written because you start to see the stories. Now, you may not be able to write the stories, but even when you work with somebody who can write it for you, you know how to audit what you get back from them going, nah, this ain't going to hit that narrative I'm trying to hit, because when I see my customer, this is a story they tell themselves. And if I say this to them, it's just going to go right over their head. You see what I just did? That's a lot of advanced marketing I just taught you in the most simplest language I can teach you. Next slide.
An even better solution is to test only a random sample of people.
Mm-hmm.
The sample must not be cherry-picked.
Important. It must not be cherry-picked. I mean, I don't know if you ever saw The Prophet. He has standing in front of the store or the business he's working with, and his customers, people walk by. Hey, what do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like this? Do you like that? Do you like this? And he just looks at their responses, and he uses that random response to get a feel for the way the public shows up. And when he picks, he may look at somebody like if you're selling Court Smith, he ain't gonna look at the 90-year-olds walking by and be like, oh, come here, put your cane down. What do you think, right? No. But what he will do is he'll look at a range of people that could possibly buy, and as they stop, hey, What do you think about Court Smith? Hey, what do you think about Court Smith? Hey, what do you think about Court Smith? And what it is he uses that data to inform him to start the hypothesis on the journey to discover your customer. Let me say this again. To start the hypothesis, an educated guess, to start the journey to discover your customer. Don't go out in front of your business, hey, I like this or that, this, that. And then as you asking these questions, you take that answer as the journey's ended. Because your brain is tempted to do that. Your brain often will take the fastest answer and then write it off. Keep going.
The sample must not be cherry-picked. Cases of deliberate cherry-picking take us back to the moral quagmire of duping, which does happen. That said, more often than not, the selection effect is simply the result of carelessness. This is why randomized trials are the proverbial gold standard for pharmaceutical research.
That's one of the reasons 5T Media doesn't do focus groups. Focus groups end up poisoning themselves. There's so many things you have to do to make sure you don't get a biased response or a false positive. And the problem with most focus groups is the only thing they really do is empower. They give confidence to the workers to believe that whatever they plan on doing, they feel confident about what they're going to do now. That's all it is. It's a confidence booster for the internal team, but it doesn't guarantee market alignment. Next one.
In 2008, O-Power, a customer engagement platform for utility companies, launched an energy conservation program that involves sending customers letters showing their electrical usage compared to that of other people in their communities.
Keep going.
The idea was that they would be motivated to save more energy if they knew how much more or less their neighbors saved.
Mm-hmm. So they thought it's called social proofing, which is if I show you what other people are doing, maybe I will social proof you into doing the same thing. Keep going.
O-Power carried out this behavioral nudge in 111 randomized control trials involving 8.6 million households across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
The brilliant young economist, Hunt Alcott, pored over the data and found that the initial results were stunning, with big energy savings. Furthermore, those results held up after several replications. It would be a sure win at scale across the whole country, right? Wrong.
Keep going. So mind you, okay, so real quick, I want guys to keep your focus before she goes to the next paragraph. So energy companies trying to get people to conserve energy. So they run a social proof campaign, which is behavior science, says if you tell everybody else, like a loan line. There's a loan line in front of the store. If we can make that line long, we can get other people to join the line, right? So now they run it in a certain particular area and they get these great data that came back that says, yo, this shit's working, right? Go.
Even though the first set of results showed the program to be quite effective,
Across millions of households.
the truth of whether it could scale lies in the actual sample of utilities that participated in the original nudge program and its replication.
So even though 1 million households said yes, you still got to look at the character and who signed up for it. The who still matters. Not just the what by itself, who. Keep going.
Utilities in more environmentalist areas were more likely to be in these trials, and their customers were more responsive to the nudge. As the program moved to places where people tended to have different values and priorities,
So real quick, the key word is environmentalists. So they ran the experiment amongst and got 1 million people respond, but these areas were dominated by environmentalists. So now they go outside of the area where there's no environmentalists, go.
however, the letters didn't move the needle on conserving energy. The initiative succeeded spectacularly in the original markets, but had much less voltage in others. So scaling nationwide would have been a colossal mistake, or at least would have suffered from a severe voltage drop.
So let's change. Let's transition to business. You're running a business in Oakland right now. So first of all, this is why you can't copy and paste white people's strategy. Different culture, different group of stories, different needs, different rhythms, different habits, different patterns, right? So if you say, oh, this is what Apple did, I'm gonna do the same thing. This is why I can't stand these multicultural black folks who think I'm just gonna do what white people do and it'll be okay. It doesn't work that way. You have to learn the culture you seek to serve. So let's just say you run a business right now, you're Court Smith too. Let's use Court Smith. And so Court Smith blows up in Oakland. He's killing it. He's doing $3 to $5 million a year. It's great. And Court Smith says, you know what? I'm about to drop $20 million to push Court Smith to these key places in other areas in the state or outside the state. And he drops these locations, stores. Then he pours all this money into promotions. He hires staff, pays utilities, designs. And it chokes him and dies and kills the business in Oakland. And he's out, game over. Good business, good product, perfect market alignment. Took it outside the market because he wasn't paying attention to the market because he started drinking the juice that I'm Kanye. I can say what the fuck I want. You ain't gonna fire me. He's drinking that juice. Takes his business into other markets. The other markets become drained on his core business. His core business runs raggedy because now he's losing resources, so he has to become more conservative to keep this business going. Even to close him down is gonna cost him money, right? And so in order to protect himself, what he starts to do is he starts to become more conservative and ratchet back resources, maybe cut down the labor so he can try to push this experiment, and he loses everything. That's happened so many times in so many different businesses. I'm talking big corporations all the time. And what happens quite often, this is what happens when white people heard black people was a $1 trillion market. The problem was they didn't know how to access the market. That's why they didn't just come in and flood the black market with all these businesses. It's like some people got in, but a lot couldn't because they couldn't figure out the cultural rhythms and they couldn't copy and paste the system. In order for them to build a new system, there's a cost that goes along with that. It's like creating a startup within your mature company. And because the market is so unpredictable and it was very volatile, it was discouraging. Keep going.
The company hadn't filtered out site selection bias.
By the way, this happens to black people all the time. A lot of government services that are focusing on you, not a nonprofits that work on your stuff, a lot of businesses that service black people are suffering from site selection bias. They don't see your culture. Most people don't see you. This is where, okay, so I just gave y'all hella game. Court, they don't hear it, all the game I just gave them. That's all the openings for you to come in and take all those markets that white people can't get. I don't give a fuck how big Apple is. They ain't servicing you. I don't give a fuck how big motherfucking any company you can think of. Those are open gaps where you are underserved because they can't see you. And so you come in and take that open gap, you'll gain all the money you need to do whatever the fuck you want to do. That's the flaw of big corporation versus small business. Small business can keep their fingers on the pulse of the culture they seek to serve and then build the proper service and product that perfectly align with the people they seek to serve. What big corporations can't do often is they built their product to serve the 277 million Caucasian Americans, and as they service them, they can't design for Mississippi black. They can't design for Oakland black. They can't design for LA black. They can't design for Chicago black. They can't design for LA Latino, Oakland Latino. They can't design for none of that shit. They can't even design for ethnic Asian, because all Asians are not the same. Don't even try it. They can't design for poor whites anymore. That's why white people are so pissed off right now, and a large portion of the Republican parties are saying, you left us behind, bro. What the fuck wrong with you? We poor, we working 2 jobs. And all y'all keep talking about is black people and social justice. We starving, bro. And a lot of companies can't serve those people, meaning that if you develop your game, these are huge market, billions and billions and billions of dollars that are underserved. They may be served, but they're underserved. Think about how good it feels. I'll give you an example. Think about how good it feels when you find a shirt or a sweatshirt that's really well designed, or pants that's really well designed, or a sweatsuit that's really well designed, but it speaks about your culture. It speaks about who you are. It references your personality. Tell me how good that shit feels. As opposed to, yeah, you can go buy Ralph Lauren, because that's status. But is it nice to rock status that also reflects you? Big difference, huh? Keep right.
Nor had it foreseen its own bias in reading the data incorrectly. Failing to fully understand how the different segments of your sample population may differ from your audience at scale is one reason we oftentimes miscalculate how representative the sample is of the overall population.
So let's go back to looking at the Walnut Creek market and then trying to use that to reference how you should show up in Oakland. Or even looking at Walnut Creek business person and going, I wish I could be like them. No, you don't. No, you don't. Figure out your innovative solution to be like whatever your community needs to make the money you need to make. This is why some Middle Eastern cultures and some Eastern Europeans will come to the black community and blow the fuck up because they see the market opportunities. You're too busy being judgmental and using the N-word to devalue your people. You're so busy devaluing. This is why I run I run campaigns against the N-word. Because as you devalue those people, you devalue those markets, you stop seeing value in them, you start shrinking the value in them. If you shrink the value in the people you seek to serve, guess what you do? You underserve them. If you serve in a group of people, you gotta find the highest value in them. I don't understand discrimination and racism and sexism and homophobia if you're running a company. That doesn't even make sense to me. Go ahead.
Thinking about a company started in Silicon Valley, catering to black community, shoes, Jordans. They're sons of immigrants, Middle Eastern. They got super popular and built Shoe Palace. Shoe Palace grew and built and start taking over that whole streetwear footwear industry. And then one of the kids in that family was noticing something because all the rappers was coming in buying stuff. They noticed that independent culture in the Bay Area. Independents weren't record labels coming up here. So what they did was one of the relatives of Shoe Palace went and started a independent record label distribution company called Empire. And Empire became the largest independent record label distributors in the country, in the world, using Bay Area rap artists, Burner, and all these people. That they built two empires off of black culture.
Wow, that's common. That's common. MGM was saved by black culture. Inline was built on black culture. The Lionsgate, like you guys don't realize how much black culture is built around you, and the same people you would call an in, other people call invaluable. Because in doesn't, you don't call great grandmother in. If you do, I don't want to talk to you right now. You keep it moving, right? You usually call people in, people you see equal to you and beneath you. You usually wouldn't walk up to Obama. Most of us wouldn't be like, yo, my in. You might say you would say it in this room in isolation, but if he actually walked into this room right now, you would show the highest level of communication and respect. When you run your business, that's how you see all your customers. Like that one video said, how do you pick up my daughter when she was on the side of the road? Did you pick her up like that was your child? That's how you show up to all your customers. If you came in my store to buy my product, which is to celebrate me, then my job is to celebrate you. How in the hell they walk into your store to buy your products? I remember I went to Brooklyn Circus in San Francisco. They act like they were snobbing me. I'm here to spend money on your $400 jackets. And you acting like you're in here to buy my clothes. I go to Court Smith's spot. Man, Court made me feel like I was, man, look here. I thought cameras was hitting me. It was just TV playing in the background, but I just felt like lights was looking at me. Court introduced you to everybody. Man, I brought this Curry sweatshirt. And one for me, one for my wife. We rock it all the time. I was out the other day, yesterday, rocking it. Folks, yo, where you get that from? Who's that? You know, then I act like I know everything. I had to go watch a video on her. But Court made me feel like I was buying a celebrity sweatshirt. I know this chick was. I was like, but by the time I hung out with him, and he didn't do it on purpose. He wasn't selling me. That's how he moves. He was so excited about being in this place. I'm excited. I don't know what I'm excited to buy. I'm just like, yeah, I gotta get something to get out of here. This feels good. Why are you excited? And I'm like, I got caught up in the juice. But he wasn't doing it to me. It's how he built an environment that's moving in his space. So you don't feel like you're being snobbed. You feel like you're being welcomed. He even had a young lady working behind the counter, cute as she want to be. Cute as she remind me of me in the 80s. You know, narcissism is a problem. It's a problem. And I'm like, okay, look here. If I was single, I might have bought 2 or 3 sweatshirts. Right? Literally, but that's brilliant. He understood the game he playing. If you put a girl that was real unattractive, I'd be like, yo, man, can I order some shit online? Let me go, keep going. I'm cut it out, I'm getting in trouble. All right, keep going.
I saw this issue firsthand in Chicago Heights.
Chicago Heights, baby.
On average, our parent academy improved education and development outcomes for children.
This is about to be so, first of all, as we go into this, all the people who like to do community work, pay attention to this. This right here is the secret sauce of why your passion often is not recognized. Go. That was a huge success. Right.
But when we dug deeper into the data, we discovered that was the case only for Hispanic families, not for Black and white families. The key was that having a multi-generational family unit mattered a great deal. And within Chicago Heights, the Hispanic families, on average, were much more multi-generational and intact than Black and white families.
Oh, so Hispanic, give me that. What do you say, Hispanic? Latino families were more intact than Black and white families were intact. So not only Black families were not intact, white families not intact. Ain't that some shit? Because we think it's just us sometimes. Oh, by the way, let me ask y'all a question. Would you argue that most of the people that say they talk about gentrification, would you argue they own the property or they don't own the property? They don't, huh? What message are we sending if we're saying that it's okay to complain about other people taking our property that we don't own? Keep going.
This meant that when mom or dad couldn't make a meeting or help their child with homework, an aunt or uncle, grandparent, or cousin could readily step in and not miss a beat. In this case, it was important for scaling purposes to have drawn a random sample of families into the original study to ensure we understood which type of families were helped by the intervention rather than follow O-Power strategy and have people self-select into the program, because in that case, we would have had mostly Hispanic families.
Oh, but we have a Black program. I don't understand why Black people are not showing up. 2, let me say this real quick. Watch this. He said he went to the governor. I'm not sure if it's in his book or his a podcast I heard him talk about. So he went to the governor about this program in Chicago Heights. And he said, I got this program and I want to get federal dollars to run this program across the nation. And the dude said, nah, you ain't got nothing here. So what you mean you ain't got nothing? It works where I'm at. He goes, yeah, but you don't got the magic bullet, which means can you take that idea and scale it across the nation and still have the same impact? A lot of nonprofits get stuck and then all of a sudden they got more money in the bank than the motherfucking money they're giving out. Because the idea worked really, really well on this small group of people and they become passionate. They start, and they raise money and people give them money. So because they're raising money, they use it as a measurement as if their idea works. And what they don't realize is that the people they're implementing the ideas on, they didn't have a random enough selection of people to test the ideas to adjust it properly for proper scaling. Meaning which renders your program dead in the water, and now all you're doing, all of a sudden, so you go from putting out something that could potentially put out millions to you pay your employee millions and you only put out thousands. Common.
If I had a shoe that I could take off, I would throw it at you. Jennifer Hudson. Keep going.
Oh, wait, Lish has something she wants to say. Go ahead.
Oh.
It's red right now? Oh, the batteries go. Josh,
Is it?
the batteries are turning red, so we need some batteries. You forget some batteries. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. You go for now, but you have to change the batteries.
Test. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you take an idea, can you take the blueprint of that original idea and tweak it so that it applies to the market that you're trying to segment, and then test to see if it works in that specific market, or do you have to just start a completely new idea?
We're always borrowing ideas. Everything's about borrowing. When you're in business, you're borrowing and tweaking. The tweaking is the innovation. So you're not inventing. Often you're doing more innovation than inventions. So innovation is when you take an idea and you improve on it. So like, for example, you take a car and you upgrade these little that's innovations, right? You're not reinventing cars. Although Tesla is an invention, they're inventing a new car, right? Then other companies come along, and some people argue, where's really the money at? Is it the intervention game or the invention game? But for most human beings, we're borrowing from human beings since the beginning of time. As far as much recorded time we have, that's what makes us an amazing animal as human beings, is that we get to take lessons from other people. The trick is to take these ideas, listen to the market you seek to serve, and then tweak it. You're right. Tweak it based upon what the market demands, not what we think and feel. And quite often, those tweaks, some of those tweaks should feel, they should not feel intuitive. They should feel almost like weird. Like you would never get it. It doesn't even feel rational. If everything feels rational, it's probably you're predicting through your ego or your narcissism. All right, pass the microphone back. Lily's writing. She's like, yo, y'all, I'm writing the next book and shit. Y'all messing me up. Go ahead. Go ahead. Next, we're on the next paragraph. The
answer, devastatingly, appears to be yes in many cases, a finding that has forced scientists in numerous fields to question bedrock assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, you might be wondering how so many scientists could have overlooked the seemingly obvious, in hindsight, impact of culture on human behavior. Mm-hmm. The answer lies in the simple fact that historically, the vast majority of research subjects have hailed from Western cultures.
So there again.
The vast
so real quick. So most of the time when we're out, when you look at a lot of this research and all this behavior science that we've been reading, most of it's coming from white culture. Scientists for a long time are starting to find out as they saturate into a broader cultural range, especially as we get into like global economics, which is going to be the economics of most of our kids. It's this method is more important than ever. You take something to another continent or another country, the game changes. You take the shit to Canada, game changes. And so you make these assumptions from the comfort of your home, wherever that is, you're going to you're going to poorly underserve or even culturally insult or even be rejected because you didn't take time to learn about the people you seek to serve. And scientists for a long time have been doing all this research where they're bringing these white kids, middle-class white kids, they run these experiments, they go, oh, here's a new term, who's a new bias, here's a new science, and then we'll go and try to use those tools in our community, and they fall flat on their face because there's other variables that our community are suffering from that's not part of those equations. Go ahead.
In fact, most social science researchers in the United States harvest their campus community for study participants. Mm-hmm. And suffice it to say that American college students, pass the beer bong, are not exactly the most representative sample of the mind-bogglingly diverse range of humans that populate our planet.
Matter of fact, be honest with you, most people are not social justice people. It's a small percentage of people. Social justice comes from college students. This is a college student phenomenon. That's why social justice doesn't serve poor people at all really well. It's college educated people's perception of what the world's suffering from, and they lack just going to sit in those communities to tighten up their insights. And that's why social justice is like this, like literally just passing. Like, I don't know if y'all saw Measure R, where now in Oakland city government, they will never say, can't say fireman anymore. They have to say firefighter. They have to take all the gender out of all the words. You just voted for that on the measure. They had you go to vote for that measure. Go to the hood and try that shit. Go to the poor Latino community, poor Asian community, poor white community, try that shit. Go to the poor white community, black community, Asian community, all those communities, go, I'm a him, her, them, their, I don't know what they do, all those things. Your grandma will be like, you gonna eat or you gonna get the fuck out of here? What you doing? like they gonna get no, like, you know, like some of us are Southern and we say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. You know that's politically incorrect in this new culture. It's washing other cultures. It's becoming the new cultural conservativeness of a way to show up. I believe if you want to be non-binary, you have 100% right to be non-binary, no questions asked. And you should be harassed about it. And if you perform well, you can be they all you want. I don't give a shit. But it doesn't mean I got to be they. You can be they. Otherwise, if I can't be they and you saying because you're they, I got to be they, then we're no longer diverse again. We're just shifting power. So when y'all get home and you think about the gentrification and that, don't smoke weed. Keep going. Next one. That's some shit, huh?
Don't smoke weed. This immense scientific blind spot suggests that many seemingly unimpeachable findings may not, in fact, be applicable or scalable to non-weird populations.
To non-weird populations? Go ahead.
For example, in my own field research, I've discovered that widespread cultural assumptions in patriarchal Western societies about women being intrinsically less aggressive than men did not hold up in a matriarchal society in India.
Keep going.
Under the right conditions, women are just as competitive, dominant, and hungry for power as men. Moreover, men in this society behave more like the Western stereotype of women.
So, yeah, which is true. In India, women, in India, if you violate a family rule, the woman's going to kill you, and then the culture's going to celebrate her for killing you. That shit gets real. Okay, I had jokes, but stop. A long time ago, I went to Marcus bookstores. This is when I was like 19, 20, about 22. And I was picking up like books like Chancellor Williams, Destruction of Africa, book written by, there was a book written by John Henry Clark where he was in this open debate around Egypt. I just read Dr. Ben's book. Ivan Van Sertima, that came before Columbus. So I'm reading all these books about African history. And I would watch women come in there because, I'm young. So, you do what young men do. You read and you ain't got where the women at. I wasn't on a computer. I'm going to be where the women at. And I would notice women would grab all these romance novel books and, and they would grab all these fiction books. I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? So I walk up to the lady who runs the store, running Market bookstore, and I say, yo, how come women don't read the books we read? She said, because they get the same information differently. And then it clicked. It's like, oh, we may have some different approaches because of all the different surrounding things. But we have more similarities than you realize. My daughter, I'm interviewing for school for next year for my daughter, all the schools I want my daughter to go to. And one of the schools is like, they asked me, is your daughter competitive? And I was like, yeah, pretty much. They're like, good. That's a characteristic we're looking for in women that go to our school. They have to be competitive, right? What I'm suggesting to you guys is that even some of the black stereotypes we tell in our own community, are blinding us from potential markets. Potential markets. Learn to. I can't begin to tell. Okay. We talked about this 1,000 times. I beat this horse over the head to the point that horse is dead. It's cement. Peter's come out and talked to me a few times. But when I told you earlier you run from yourself, many of y'all are living lives you just are totally uncomfortable in saying, talking about right now in class. If I point at you right now, you're not going to talk about that. And y'all live in worlds where people talk about lives that will shock the shit out of you. But all those habits are customer behavior. Real talk. The website, we talked about earlier, this website about cheating, 75 million customers. But everybody in this room would be like, oh no, this cheating is just bad. It's just, don't even want to talk about it. While your best friend's cheating right now. While you gonna leave here tonight and go have your little cheat on. But in your brain, if somebody ever asks you, you better stop it. You gotta make sure don't let her talk for the rest of the class. but if you ask that person in front of us right now, they're gonna take the God role, the higher moral road. But if these lights were to go out right now, they come back on, y'all be like, oh shit, sorry, it just triggers me. But you gotta see real people. Some of y'all become so moral superior, you just shun people out. Or you know what's wrong with black people? Stop all that language. All that, don't stop. White people, stop saying white people. There's so many variations of human beings in all those groups. If you're really trying to grow something, stop speaking in such broad general terms. I mean, okay, if you're playing basketball, you're like, yo, white boys can't handle this. All right, cool. But when you get serious, don't say no shit like that. There's diversity within diversity within diversity. And so there ain't no such thing as all people do anything. That's what those Jews were arguing about Kanye. Kanye, all Jews don't do anything the same. Fuck you talking about? American Jews don't even a lot of American Jews don't even fuck with Jerusalem Jews. They're different. There's good Jews, there's bad Jews. So they're saying, stop saying Jews as a whole. Stop saying white people as a whole. Stop saying Asians and black people. Stop saying people of color. That's the dumbest fucking business way of thinking I've ever seen in my life. Have you ever hung out with an Indian person and went shopping with an Indian person? It feels like you just keep going in different directions. That's funny if y'all think about that shit. Next one. Next one.
In short, if we in the social sciences wish to create impact on the largest possible scale, we have important work to do.
Which is, you have to get out into the wild. And you guys are entrepreneurs, you're in the wild. Now, the longer you're in the wild, you don't realize the value of your education. It's called practitioners. The more you're in the wild, it's because you get a chance to test the ideas that they never get a chance to test because they're not in the wild. Court will whoop a lot of college graduates' ass because he gets to test it every day. They can quote a lot of fancy words like Michael Eric Dyson or Cornell fucked up West, but they're not in the wild. I'm not sure Cornell West has ever been and sat in the hood and just talked to hood dudes and chill with them.
Brother Nana, why would you say that?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just, I had a little of that yak. I messed up. Keep going.
We should conduct new research on broader samples of participants in diverse communities around the world.
See, real quick. So you're talking about stakes. You're talking about scaling citywide, statewide, nationwide, global. Mm-hmm. Diversity is a superpower. Stop listening to white people talk about diversity. That shit's weird. Diversity is a necessity for survival. Their diversity is some weird shit. It's labeling. It's really superficial. It's like the Black Lives Matter movement. It don't make no fucking sense. It's just patches and tattoos and shit. Real diversity is a superpower. You want to learn more about other cultures and value people. Remember I said to you guys at the beginning of the class, at the beginning of this year, all people are good? I'm practicing the highest level of diversity. I want to sit at the table and talk to all races. I want to talk to people with different economic backgrounds, because that's how I discover new ideas. So if you're doing any type of testing, practice seeing other people. If you walk around, this is what happens with your brain. When you start saying white people are trying to hurt you, Latino people don't matter, Asian people are full of friction, you build a tunnel for yourself and you don't see possibilities. If you guys get every chance to get to the art world, the basketball world, you're going to be, I was at Courts basketball at his business, and I was watching these Latino and Asian girls get it. Get it. I'm talking about get it. I met a white woman named Mickey the other day at Head Royce. If you talk to her, you will never know she's white on the phone. Sound like Lily all day long. Right? Lily, I swear to God, you be like, yo, and by the way, we talking, she's like, by the way, you know I'm white. I'm like, whoo, you just got me on that one, girl. Right? That's the world we live in. It's way more complex. As information communication broadens, we start to cross-communicate, cross-listen to art, cross-engage, cross-connect, go to school together, and you still talking 1962 segregation. Pay attention, people. Don't victimize yourself from your possibilities. Keep going.
And we should do much of this work through natural field experiments in environments where the subjects are naturally undertaking certain tasks and where they are not self-selecting into the experiment. Such an approach combines the most attractive elements of the experimental method and naturally occurring data. In many cases, we need to move from a mentality of creating evidence-based policy to one of producing policy-based evidence.
Keep going.
Businesses can, and increasingly do, apply this approach by testing their ideas or products on more culturally diverse groups and by moving from focus groups to experiments conducted in the wild.
There you go.
Think back to how we tested Lift Pink. It was simply a natural field experiment.
That's how Fight Team Year moves. Am I lying? They can't get me to do a focus group. If I do a focus group, I'm just going to charge you hella money, take your money, and I may just tell you, you're right, damn, you were hella tight. Yeah, you should do what you just said, because in the end, that's all they wanted to hear anyway.
And then on Monday, fuck these fucking focus groups.
Yeah, that's how it was. Because you got to learn how to see things in the wild. Even like, say, for Court Smith. Court Smith wants to expand his company. He has to go from watching kids on a basketball court to going to having somebody go sit in people's houses and watch how they engage clothing and material that he sells without knowing it matters what they do. The famous soap commercial. They were selling soap about, oh, it gets my clothes white, oh, it gets my clothes clean. And they were just watching people. And they noticed every time they put the clothes up to the machine, they smell it. And they realized, oh, for human beings, what it smelled like is number one. But if you just observe them from outside the house when they walk by your place, they may tell you, oh, does it get my shirt white clean? Yeah, that's what comes out your mouth. But when you're actually washing clothes, so they start saying, we'll make your clothes smell fresh. And it was a big hit. So in observation, like if somebody takes off your Court Smith sweatshirt, what do they do with it then? What's the life cycle of that space? Do they fold it up? How do they wash it? What's the most common way people wash it? How long does it last? How long do they need it to last? How fast do they re-up? What's the motivation for re-up? How are we stimulating them to re-up? Or are we just waiting for them to re-up? How do we incentivize that? That's business now. So you can't sell apples every day. Think about a restaurant. How many times do you go to the same restaurant? A restaurant owner has to think about that. How many times can I get you to come back a month, a year? If you only go once every 6 months, I'm going to die on the vine. I don't give a fuck if my food is amazing. How do I get you to come back again the following month? Or at least order some food? How do I get you to maybe part of the holiday party at your job? How do I make you where you tell your friend and they come at least once a month? I need a certain consistency of customers to keep sitting in chairs to grow my business. If people are coming in randomly every once in a while, imagine the big gaps when nobody came in September because they just didn't come. There was no rhyme or reason. My job is to stimulate everybody in this room to keep coming. Somebody needs to come to my business in September. I can't afford for September to roll around and everybody be like, oh, we didn't feel like coming that month. For random different reasons. So I can't leave that up to your decision. As a business, I have to actively engage you in an indirect way to motivate you to come sit in my restaurant, at least somebody to be in my restaurant at least once a month so I can count on that to bank my investments to grow my business. You guys see where I'm going with that? So when you're selling any product or service, how do you stimulate people to come back and buy it again? Not just that one transaction. Some of y'all are so caught up in self-judgment ties to your sales. So like, for example, say Shabisha sell me that Good Vibe shirt she wearing, and I tell her I ain't gonna buy it. She takes that as I rejected her. And because she took it as I rejected her, she don't think about repeated long-term customer relationship. So she feels some kind of way and she starts to get sour. Or she starts to shut down, or she starts to minimize her engagement or my services. Now realizing that I could have been a repeated customer who could have purchased 40, 50, I might have said no to that sweatshirt, but yes to your brand. Like, I love Core Smith to death. I love his designs to death. I don't say yes to all of his designs because they're not my designs. He had a young design, I forgot what some brand he made it. It was really young, youthful looking. I'm not wearing that young shit. I'm gonna feel weird wearing that young shit. I'm gonna feel like that dude at the club, but I'm everywhere. I'm not wearing that shit. So if he would have said to me, Nana, you want this? I'd be like, nah. But I love Core Smith. He has to know I love his brand. I'm saying no to that particular product in his brand. But when y'all personalize it, if I say no to him, he's gonna feel like I just said no to him. Right? Now, let's say it's a friction and you work hard to sell me the product. And after selling the product, you feel like, oh, that was so hard. It wasn't hard. You know why it was hard? Because you personalized it. If you didn't personalize it, you would have sold it, then provided an amazing experience and start thinking about stage 2 of your sales. How do I get you to leave here and go get a friend or come back again? That's part 2. You don't sell just to sell, to say, hey, you brought this out. Oh, I won. No, you lose. You're still losing. The win is, can you get me to go buy more or get your friend to buy some? So you got to go part 2 to part 3 of your sales, not part 1 only. But when it's personal, 1 is enough. I just rewarded you by saying you're amazing and, oh, you value my products. Oh, I told you I was right. I knew somebody believed in me. See, Shabisha brought this from me. Oh, my God, look at me. What we're not saying is, let's do business now. Shabisha ain't enough. Everybody in this room buy my shit. It ain't enough. How do I work on exponential growth, which is you get a friend, then that friend will get a friend. Now I'm rolling in money. Right? So it's thinking about business differently, but you got to get yourself out the fucking conversation. I'm not blessing you. If I buy your products, I'm not having a relationship with you. I'm buying a fucking product. Even if you cleaning houses for a living, I'm not personally talking about you coming to clean my house. I mean, I'm gonna leave that alone. But I'm not saying that. What I'm suggesting is that I need my house clean. Can you get down? If I say I don't want you next week, maybe my house, I was on vacation. I didn't say I don't want you in my life next week, but y'all be making it like I said I don't want you in my fucking life. I don't want you to train me doesn't mean I'm saying, you know what, don't touch me. And if I want you to train me, don't mean touch me. Neither one of those apply. You're reading because you're personalizing, you're looking for the wrong message and you're reading the wrong coding and you're getting the wrong response and then you're showing it the wrong way. When you start personalizing the stuff, you keep saying, how do I sweeten the deal? How do I how do I extend the relationship? How do I create repeat purchases? How do I get you excited? How do I turn you into a fan? How do I build a new story in your story brain that says your life story depends on your relationship to my product? Y'all see this Harley shit I'm rocking? Harley ain't nowhere near black. I think the only thing is black on Harley is his dirty toenails. Ain't shit black about Harley. But the reason I fuck with Harley, because the story that the brand tells is similar to the story I tell about myself. Harley. Why I got on Timberlands? Because what the hip hop culture turned Timberlands into, the story that hip hop turns like the New York black male on the streets rocking Timberlands, masculinity is part of who I am. It's my story. Why do I wear masculine gear? Because I'm binary. I love my masculinity. I'm so motherfucking love my masculinity, it's ridiculous. So I wear manly shit. And if I find a brand that's hella manly, I'm rocking with that brand. I find a brand that's like, Metro, it's cool over there. Doesn't mean that's ugly to me. It's not on me though. I can't rock that pink sweatshirt right now. We're gonna have a problem. My boy came out with a pink t-shirt on. I said, do me a favor, no selfies together. None. We can't do that, bro. We can't be doing this. You can't be, if your lips pucker, it's never gonna be the same. I'm slapping your phone at your hand. I'm a different dude. And the cold part is, it ain't gonna do with you, ain't gonna do your gay choices, right? I'm just not rocking pink t-shirts. Don't do it. I can have some pink on my t-shirt. I just can't wear that. Huh? That's your story, not my story. Nope. You start a pink store, see if I come in there. I'm gonna walk by every day. Every day. I never forget, I was dating a sister and her daughter was like my daughter at the time. This is a long time ago, in my 30s. And she hit the age where it was time to get her nails done. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take her, get her nails done. Fuck it. And I walked in there and I sat in that space. I was uncomfortable taking her to get her nails done. It was so feminine. It was perfectly designed to talk to that kind of woman. It was like, for her, it was the most amazing experience. I felt like I was about to be interrogated for the greatest crime I've ever committed, and I was just waiting for the guy to come and ask me a question. I'm sitting there like, and a little water twinkling, and what kind of nail polish you want? Just ask her. Just ask, don't even let that be her. Because it's not, I'm anti-female because I love females. It's not that, it's the kind of male I was raised as, and the stories that's built up in me over the years, the kind of men that hovered over me, who shaped who I am, is who showed up in a nail spot, right? But then, if you catch me with my daughter, she might get me to like, put on an apron, act like I'm cooking with her, right? And act like, I don't do the feminist, because like when she tried to do makeup, like, I'm your daddy, baby. Put makeup on your mama. I give you a doll. Daddy don't wear makeup. Just what it is. But I'm softer with my daughter than anybody else. Like I found soft parts of me I didn't know existed with my daughter. That's a complexity that exists in me. And it exists in all y'all the same. Let's roll, because y'all gave me to the tone that's soft. I'm too much of that. Just keep going.
The big picture lesson here is one you ignore at your own peril. When assessing early responses to your idea, look under the hood and make sure the people in that group are representative of the larger population you ultimately hope to reach.
So when you test your stuff, make sure the people you're trying to reach, the people you want to reach, whatever you build, you're testing it by the larger population, not a narrow population. Practice the highest level of diversity. Don't wait for business to practice it. Practice diversity at all times because it makes you a better business person. You can't, even if you want to be a community leader, an activist, whatever, practice the highest level of diversity to be effective. This is totally different than social justice. That shit's weak. The real shit is the diversity is a survival need. It's not a nice thing to do. It's not higher virtues. It's survival, people. My masculine ass is diverse as hell. I'm talking about from gender to race to age to whatever I can think of, I'm diverse with it. Because there's value in all people. And trust me, I'm not that kind of dude. Like when it comes to like, I'm really pro-black. I'm not trying to serve everybody, but I also see the value of everybody. I can't go like serve Irish Americans' problems. I don't know Irish Americans' history. Outside of Scott, which is one of my loved ones, who's Irish, I don't know enough Irish people to understand their history, their culture, and I ain't read enough Irish books, and I ain't sat in Irish culture to understand it. And I haven't built a product for Irish community. So I ultimately wake up every day understanding the challenge that my daughter will have to walk in and work on those problems. But do I value the Irish community? You motherfucking right I do. They're a valuable community. Everybody's valuable. Ain't no, don't shrink women, don't shrink men. They're all valuable. You know what's wrong with men? Shut up. They're valuable. You know what's wrong with women? Shut up. They're valuable. You know what's wrong with non-binary? Shut up. They're valuable. I got some social justice clients. Yeah, I don't go have beer with them, but I serve them. They're valuable. I just can't be unauthentic and be act like I'm everybody, everything to everybody. I'm not with whoever you are. I'm gonna represent who I am, but I'm gonna value who you are. Keep rolling.
To uncover true actionable knowledge, it is important to recognize heterogeneities rather than hide them. In fact, I'd suggest going even further. Do everything you can early on to uncover and examine hidden differences in the people you eventually hope to serve at scale.
Whoa, wait a minute. Have I not been saying that forever? Find the differences in the people. Find the hidden differences in people. The hidden, no, all black, I'm buying a product for black women. What's that? You know how diverse black women are? This is important. Because y'all get caught up in that damn language. And the people who say, I'm building a multicultural business, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. That's really just masking your ego, your narcissism. When you decide, I'm gonna build a product for white women. Which white women you talking about? They're diverse as hell. Educated women. Which educated women are you talking about? They're diverse as hell. Like, you have to get really fine into your definition, not those comfortable spaces that we use in this social dialogue that is really somewhat racist in itself. Keep going.
Not only because this will likely yield valuable insights about the scalability of your idea, but also because it is what will set you apart from competitors.
Uh-oh, I just said that. This will make you different from competitors. Keep going.
These differences can involve anything from geographic location, as we saw with Kmart, and family structure, as with Parent Academy.
Right, so like certain family structures are different, even though we all with the same schools and we identify by the same stuff, we come from different family structures. I had a father, you didn't have a father. That's a different market. Keep going.
To behavior patterns, like the ones we observed when we tested our membership program at Lyft, and cultural attitudes and norms, such as gender roles or what constitutes fairness, and everything in between.
And everything in between. This is why practice finding value in human beings, especially your own. Practice, 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 practice. When you go places where there's foreign cultures, stop worrying about what you don't like and find out what you can like. And slowly grow into valuing. Because a lot of times, even when you use a word, okay, if I said, Court being stupid, what I just did is made myself stupid. Let me say this again. If I say Court is stupid, I just made myself stupid. So what do you mean? I never figured out why he's the way he is and how it was a form of rationality based upon what he went through, which opens my mind up to what he has experienced, right? Where we go wrong, when you say stupid, you cut off differences in your brain. Like, some people out there are so stupid, you cut all those people off. As opposed to, why do you do that? When I first learned about Trump, my first question is, well, why did Trump do that? Why would he do that? Look, we could all agree, ain't a person in this room like Hitler, and if you do, I suggest you don't say it. But you need to understand Hitler, so you don't make sure, so you can see if those characteristics are going to grow in culture. How did Germany become the Nazis? You need to know that. You don't need to. How did slavery become slavery? How did China kill so many people? How did Russia kill so many people? How did Africa kill so many people? You need to learn that. It's not because you're trying to celebrate it, value it. It's so you can see those human characteristics in more than just them. You even understand when something's getting out of whack and when it needs to be pushed back. You should study more than just winning stories. That's called survivor bias. You only want to learn about the winners. You got to learn about the losers too. It's all important. I study some of the weirdest shit in the world, but it gives me such a deep insight on human behavior. So just learn to value people. And like I said, you don't have to like fall in love. You know, it's that corny social justice stuff. Like you, in like I'm around some things that certain cultures cook, even some black cultures cook. Have you been down south? They start cooking them chitlins. I'm not fucking. I'm out. I'm getting in my car. I'm gonna love everybody in that house, but I ain't eating your chitlins, right? Like, okay, pimp, fix the face. but I ain't eating those chitlins, right? What I'm suggesting is this: is that you're not gonna love everything about everybody, but I also want to know, why do you eat chitlins? I really don't know where they came from, how they got started. Because it gives you some insight on the culture. If the culture went through a traumatic time, you might want to find, and make sure, Josh, plug that in for her so nothing happens weird. This, when you move electronics around, it gets really crazy. So just pass it to Josh. Run an extension cord, another extension cord? Okay. I got some over there? Okay, good. So the thing is that learning what the trauma that people went through or the cultural experience they had that brought chitlins to existence tell you more about their behavior than just a typical greeting. So I don't like the chitlins. I ain't gonna be in the house when you cook the chitlins. I'm not eating the chitlins. But I want to know about the chitlins, and I want to see why you got values in chitlins, so I can see the value that I can earn from the value you have in chitlins. It's called chitlin value. Look it up. Go ahead.
If you're a high school principal considering implementing a seemingly impressive new intervention, say to increase students' admittance to four-year colleges, investigate whether students in existing program locations might have socioeconomic backgrounds that differ from those of your own students.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a venture capitalist considering investing in a promising company, find out exactly where the business model is succeeding and with whom precisely.
So when you guys see these white companies, remember I told you business observation is the weakest way of learning about business is through observations. Because if you don't know the knowledge they have about their customers, then if you duplicated what you see perfectly, if you don't understand market alignment, you have nothing. Go ahead.
If you're a venture capitalist considering investing in a promising company, find out exactly where the business model is succeeding and with whom precisely. In short, think about your audience. Then, once you're ready to raise your voltage, look for people you aren't currently serving, but could if you tweaked your model.
No, read that last sentence. That's the most important sentence to kind of almost, because it's bringing everything we're saying about this know your customer. That last says, then once you're ready to raise your voltage, meaning once you're ready to scale your business,
look for people you aren't currently serving, but could if you tweaked your model.
meaning that if you just slightly added this one service or slightly equated a slight tweak, it'd be perfect for this other market that's really close to your market. Now you see how if you're a narcissist or you're egotistical, it's okay. Somebody's egotistical, and Corey's taught this. You go to school and you say, "Oh, I can't wear this. People gonna think I'm looking stupid." Because that's an ego. You'll find out, as Corey has illustrated numerous times, no one saw what you had on, G. That's my age group, right? Shakina's age group is bussin'. I still got to work on that word. But anyway, no one's paying attention to you, G. As you run a business, you got to become more serving focused, not self-focused. Because as you're more serving focused, you'll start seeing close aligned markets that if you slightly tweak, you can expand your company into those markets. Look at go back to the history of Nike or history of Adidas or history of Puma. They had a very narrow market. If you look at, Adidas and Puma was soccer brands, right? Nike had a very, very, very narrow market. Now look at their brand now. They even got cycling gear. It's just crazy how much they got. Because they saw markets like, hey, we could serve that market, and they expand. And then here's a funny thing. They may expand, the market's only worth 20 million, they'd be like, oh, it's a waste of our time. And you say, waste of your time? Yeah, because we got these $300 million, $200 million, $500 million markets over here, our $1 billion market here. This $50 million market, it's not even worth our time. Let's let it go. And that's why the makeup company, famous makeup company, got dumped by Victoria's Secret because they wasn't worth the money. They dumped their own company because it wasn't worth. Yeah, they were making money. They had a good product, but when they realized how much I'm going to make from the product, it wasn't even worth the growth. It wasn't worth the growth spurt. Share that real quick.
It was a 69 margin makeup brand, which in makeup is unheard of because the industry runs at like 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And Victoria's Secret profit is so high that for them to be making, for them to be making 69 cents on the dollar basically wasn't worth it for them to be in it. It was a $80 million makeup business, and it was only in 300 of their 1,000 stores, and they dumped it because all of their other categories make more money, and it was a high service model business, so it took too much. So it was easier to sell bras than it was to have them put on a full face. You could sell more bras, make more money, get more people in the door, so they dumped it.
So even when you have expansion, doesn't mean all expansions are worth it. If the expansion starts to cost you time, attention, money that's not worth the amount of money you're bringing in, and you can't build a successful team to manage it, and the profit margin is such a dip for the profit margin you make from your other products and services, even though you can't be a hustler in business. That's a better simple. Doing everything is not worth your fucking time. Doing the thing that returns you the highest return on your money, highest return on your time, is the best thing you could ever do with your business. But just because you have positive voltage response by selling something doesn't mean you should sell it. This is one of the reasons I put up Bonnie's barbecue sauce or even like Marquita. By the way, Marquita sent me the sweetest text, almost melted. Like I'm surprised I didn't come here looking like butter, but very beautiful text. But let's say Marquita, huh? Oh, she online? Okay. What's up, Marquita? But let's say Marquita makes too many products. And let's say she goes to a festival and all of them sell. The question is, which one has the velocity? If she makes all those products, she's killing herself as a business. Inventory management, logistics, a whole bunch of stuff. You're killing yourself as a business. It's important to gain momentum and then look for possible expansions based upon market observations and possibilities, as opposed to like worrying about serving everybody by having a large variety. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it's better to focus and narrow and have the perfect product line, and then find out how to expand that based upon profit opportunities and what makes business sense, not based upon what makes you feel good because they bought all your products. Next. Matter of fact, one thing you don't want to do is a high costing product or a high costing service to expand. Worst thing, that's Shakina's challenge. Shakina's number one service when she first started was one-on-one training. She don't want that to expand. How many Shakinas are going to be? She wants group systems to expand. She wants buy my products or my brand to grow strong, so I can start selling products that I can stamp from the relationships I have to my customers to expand. She wants online presence to expand. She doesn't want me getting up in the morning, okay, 2 more sets. Well, she's young enough, she can get away with that. Imagine her 60s, it ain't gonna be good. She's gonna be that trainer with a cane. Go, come on. 2 more, 2 more, right? But it just doesn't make sense. She can't retire with that shit. She does, it's gonna be funny, but she can't. The reality is that you have to build systems. You wanna build systems that can free you up as they expand, not force you to deeply engage as it expands. This is scaling principles. Let's go. Broadening your audience. Did we jump?
No, I have brought in your audience too as the next.
Yeah,
one.
okay. So let's see something. I'm trying to say, did we change subjects?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we changed this. So that's enough. Oh, no. Broadening your audience is still within know your customers. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Broadening your audience.
Fast food restaurants do this all the time by adding new items to their menus, and often this works out much better than things did for the Arch Deluxe.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in 2018, Taco Bell introduced nacho fries, which soon became the most popular item in the chain's more than half-century-long history. While nacho fries were already a staple on many of Taco Bell's international menus, their U.S. debut excited habitual customers and reeled in new ones as well.
There you go. So what they're saying is that, so that's more of a big play. I'm trying to shrink it to a smaller level. Let's use Shakina's business. Let's say, and this is, I'm just making up something, so Shakina, please don't take this back. Don't make any purchases. But let's say every time people went to Shakina's gym, they either was thirsty because they didn't bring the proper drink, or they was always using towels. Or you saw them you saw this culture where people were like, yo, I just picked up this towel. Do you see this towel over here? Right? You saw these habits that you weren't serving, but it was so aligned with the customer when they came to your business that aligned with what they wanted, right? So then you tested by going, okay, let's just have a couple of towels with pinpoint printed on them. And they fly off the shelf. Then you go, okay, let's double that order next time around, and let's try it online. With the market, the relationships I built online and the fan base I built based upon the store, it's nothing to. You build better relations online from the stories you tell than you. Your selfies, your pictures of your spaces, your picture of your clothes, your pictures of the muscles, your pictures of the push-ups, your pictures of your 1990s swimsuit. Please don't. Is not the most valuable thing you can sell if you're trying to sell your business. You sell stories. So people fall in love with your story. They come to your website to be a part of your story. Those are potential markets you can push a product into as you start to test ideas. So now you take the story-built market you have on social media, and she says, hey, I have pinpoint towels that are statements that you believe in this story that we all signed up for, and it sells. Now she's in a towel making business, but she's not in. She better not go home with a needle and thread and a bag full of cotton and start making some motherfucking towels. She does what Court does. She finds the best way to have somebody outsource her production to minimize her cost, so she can focus on selling towels, not making fucking towels. If she splits her attention in making towels, she's stealing from selling towels. If she's stealing from selling towels, she's building unnecessary inventory that's locking up all of her money. Her business is to move the product, not to make the fucking product. If you ask Court to make you a sweatshirt, he's going to push you, he's going to go to his sources and go, it's going to be this much. But Court, I thought you knew how to sew. I don't give a fuck if I do or don't. I ain't making shit. If he starts making sweatshirts, he's in the wrong business. Unless he finds a loophole for making sweatshirts. Get where I'm going with this? Like, think about this. Let's go over to Marquita and Brownie. Marquita, what's the best way to get somebody else to outsource making your sauce? She said, but no, it's going to be 10% worse. Great. No one notices anyway. How can you get somebody to do the shit? Because guess what your job is to go sell that goddamn sauce. But if you're in the kitchen for 4 hours and you can get 2 hours to sell the sauce, you're limiting scaling. Your job is to, how do we move it, shape the relationships, create the repeated purchases, push our story, get customers to fall in love with us. My job is to sell barbecue. If I was running Brownie's barbecue sauce, I would never know what it felt like besides when I put it on my chicken. I would taste other sauces all the time because I want to see what competition is doing. Brownie's the queen of that. She could tell you what everybody's doing. I even met another Sims who has this barbecue truck that's coming out of San Jose. Cole, I love this brother, really good brother. But anyway, and he's Sims. He don't even know Brownie. It's funny. But Brownie, your job is not to make sauce. That's personal. Stop cooking for everybody. Like, if you about to find out this one thing, do you want to be the chef or you want to be the ingredients? Too many of you are trying to be the chef because I like being the chef. You guys want to buy a club so you could be in the club walking around. If I buy a club, you would never see me. I would be at the club so rarely, it'd be like, I would have a virtual me. Look, Shabisha would be called Nana Inti. like Shabishi, you're officially not on NT. You do all this shit. Look, you're hired because you're a master at personalities and crowd manipulation, and you will never see me because guess what I'm working on now? Getting me another club or looking at how to grow this model or expand this model. I'm in business to do business. I'm not in business to make myself feel good.
Marquita asked, she said, this makes total sense. The question is, how then do you test which flavors have success if you don't put them out there?
You know, but okay. In your testing, you can run trial tests of running like, okay, you run trial tests with random people to taste your sauce and see which one has a response. And people are like, how do I buy this one? You can start to see the data unfold. It will literally unfold in front of your face, right? Even if you run, let's say you have 3 products out there, you got these 3 are the main sellers, and you just add one at a time and see how the market responds. And also with her product, it's seasonal. So you take peaches and you add it during November, it might be kind of weird. Or it might be great because Thanksgiving era, you got to know it's a lot of testing. You got to get away from looking for the answer and looking for the test methods to discover the answer for you. And then when you find the answer, continue to test because as markets shift, you can get stuck in a model that is no longer valuable, and that model will drain your. It's like being in Las Vegas. You keep gambling the same way, and you won one night, and you made all that money, and then you go back to the same night, you follow all the same procedures, and you leave the next day broke as fuck because you didn't adjust your model based upon the way the outside world was showing up to you. So you find out what is the number 1 seller, and you learn to push that product. You get somebody to manufacture that shit. Now, when you first start, you may not have no money to manufacture anything. You might be like, no, I just made $200. The only person who can manufacture this shit is my cousin Kiki, right? I get that. But you want to start working on mapping out a manufacturing plan where it doesn't require you to produce shit. You're working on an engine that moves products from from you to the customer, and also building a relationship with your customers. So your customers can become salespeople, return customers, one of the two. You're gonna buy my product, my Harley Davidson, and then walk your boy in there and be like, yo, I got a partner. I saw him the other day. I went to take my Harley in to get some work during the summer. The cat walked me in a Harley Davidson, brought me a bag for my helmet, a Harley bag for my helmet, and brought me a hat. That's a great customer. You want that customer. He's giving away your products to other people as gifts because that person is an evangelist for your company. But you can't do that if you occupy all your time making the fucking products. When you have time to sell. If Brownie and Princess just says, I'm going to sell 100% of the time, what would happen to their numbers? They woke up from morning, noon, and night focusing on sales, and then somebody else is managing production. Different conversation. Now you go into the multi-million, even $billion game. But if you're working on producing and selling, that's not scalable, people. It's not scalable. It's not scalable. You won't even have, Brownie can't maintain consistency. Consistency is everything for Marquita's jelly and Brownie's stuff. Slight shifts mean you ruin my story. So Court comes to my house on a holiday. I'm like, Court, you gotta try this new sauce. I pop open Marquita stuff. I take the spoon. I spread it on some bread. Here you go. And he'd be like, this is good to you. And oh, this shit's different. Guess what? I'm never gonna do it again. I'm never going to refer her again because you're going to embarrass my story. You're going to hurt my ego, my status. You can't be fucking up my status with your products. I'm the food reference king. That's how I get down. You about to fuck me up? I done took all my friends to your restaurant and the shit is shitty. I'm at Licious Gym training with her, and today she's on, and she didn't really give it to me. Like, she didn't really train us. We didn't really sweat this day, but the other day we couldn't even walk out the motherfucker. Where's the consistency, people? Respect who I am. I need to feel great about me. You fucking up the way I feel. This is exactly what the customer is saying. This is exactly what your customer is saying every day. You fucking up my reputation, dog. Get your shit together. I ain't fucking with you no more. I need to be able to walk in here and brag about you, and you show off for me to make me feel my status. You fucking up the game. So you work on business over product. Go ahead.
Another little secret sauce you just tied into the other point was that everybody, most of us, we want to be the hero of our own story. We want to be the hero. It's about us. It's about you. It's about you. It's about you. So you referring somebody to somebody else, macro, it seems like you're helping somebody, but really you want to be the hero of that person's life.
That's it.
I just gave you game by giving you this referral of the best restaurant. So if the company fucks that up, you don't be like, oh man, I'm sorry that was a bad experience for you. The first thing people think of is he just fucked up my status. That's how shit goes. So if you know that, then now you know how to use that in business.
Straight up. Roll. What if
expanding your product offerings proves too complicated or expensive to sustain at scale?
Oh, this is so good. This is so, mind you, if you scale the way you run your business right now, is it too expensive or can you handle the costs? So let me show you a dynamic. I'm gonna use Shakina again. So say she opens a Pinpoint. She says, no, Planet Fitness sucks. It just sucks. They don't do what I do. When I train because I know the science of the shoulders, the chest. They bring in some young person in there, they just came from McDonald's. And you pull the numbers down. Well, let's see. Planet Fitness is worth $400 million. Shakina, let's see, minus $1 million. Well, thousands. The reality is once you decide to scale, you gotta stop being a perfectionist. Remember I said perfectionism and scaling don't go together? Now I just gave it to you as a sauce. How do you serve the customers you want to serve, but meet them in a way that you design a system that meets their needs and makes them feel very, very satisfied, but the idea is scalable. 24-hour fitness can scale the shit out of that. They can keep pulling people from McDonald's all day long. Tennille, you ready to start training? Tennille said, yeah, fuck it. Tennille's my new trainer. Put the shirt on. Tennille, go to class for 3 weeks. You're under my certification, my gym. You're a trainer. Tennille, I'm like, oh shit, I'm a trainer. Now, Shakina walks in and be like, oh my God, what the fuck is she doing? You go talk to the customer, hey, which one you like the most? Oh, I love Tennille. But she's not as good as Shakina. Yeah, but she makes me feel so good though. Oh my God, we had fun drinks on the holidays and shit. Oh my God. You're thinking, but they ain't got a new training? Because 24 Hours has hacked the customer. You don't feel in love with the fucking product you're serving. You love the product over the customer. It's that simple. Y'all be so much into y'all tied your ego and your value to your business to the point that, you ever taste my sauce? It's the best sauce in the world. Remember I told Kaj I hate farmer's market? That model can't scale. It sucks. They're so in love with their organic, come off a tree with one bee that ever touched this, with only one dog that's ever walked around it, and one fucking fairy who ate the first fruit, and now I'm here to sell it to you for a jar of jelly for $40 fucking dollars, and you should be happy to buy that. And motherfucking what's the famous jelly company? Welch's is walking around talking about jelly. I got jelly for you. I don't give a shit what you want. I got jelly. You want jelly? I got jelly. I'm the jelly man, baby. And you're like, damn, but my shit's the real shit. Yeah, I got jelly. Right? You guys gotta understand business. Business. Very few people buy everything boutique. Let me say this again. Very few name a human being that buys everything boutique. You have to be in a certain privilege level to buy everything boutique. You know how expensive life was if you buy everything boutique? When I buy cars, it must be all recycled materials. Buy clothes, it must be all recycled plastic, just from all the finest gear. Only organic food only. You know what your budget is? You rich as fuck. Nike is not a specialized. Ask Court one day how much tennis shoes cost. That's how much them Jordans that you paid $200 cost. That's the unique, only limited edition. They gave you all those feelings, those $7 tennis shoes. Ask them. Oh, I just told you, huh? Just ask them, verify. It may change. Price may some inflation, some shit. You know, shipping might be $12. But in y'all mind, these $300, these are the most unique form of Jordans. Matter of fact, it even has Jordan's favorite color on the right side of the shoe. Marketing. Hacking your customers, because you know your customers. Let's roll.
Try keeping the product the same, but experimenting with ways to make it cheaper.
Wait. You make it what?
Cheaper
Wait a minute. Y'all better call Kasha and tell her to read that line. Keep going.
or easier to produce.
Easier to produce. Uh-oh.
For example, look at better production or distribution models.
Distribution is, Court, is distribution hella important? Everything. Everything. Keep going.
You can also look at taking the product to a potentially better market where it will find more people.
Mean that, okay, fuck it. Court Smith, let's say Court Smith comes up with the best design game in the world. But there's this company called Smith Court. Ain't got shit to do with him, but they will move his product crazy. And you have to lose 10% profit, but his volume would just triple. If Court told me he wasn't going to build a white label because he felt some way, because it has to be Court Smith name on that, he just stopped his own scaling. Companies white label all the time. If you have that market on lock, because you have the brand, it's called the carriage. You have the carriage that's bringing people in, and people are coming to you, then I'm going to run through your carriage and cut my percentage, and I'm good. I'm doing business. If you want personal shit, go paint a paint. Go do a painting of some shit. Go sew an outfit. Do some knitting and some shit. But don't run your business like it's your fucking hobby. Make a decision. Hobby, business. Business, hobby. And it's not. And I'm not asking you to be generic. Because as you customize in the business for scaling, that's where it becomes personalized for the customer. As you listen to your customer and constantly adjust your product, think about this. I just told you to listen to the customer to customize your product and service to align with the market, right? That's not generic. That's not generic at all. It's just some of y'all gotten too rich. Y'all gotten just too goddamn rich. If you don't feel like this, I just can't do it that way now. I don't feel like I'm being authentic. Yeah, I know, but your bank account say you're being authentically broke. Stay with me. Keep going.
You can also look at taking the product to a potentially better market where it will find more people who need and can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Africa.
if none of these tweaks works, then it might be time to quit or pivot.
Pivot is that, remember that quitting podcast I gave you guys? That's where it comes in. When do you quit or pivot? Y'all should have did a podcast. If you don't, let's talk about it. Go get the book I suggest if you don't know, learn more about pivoting and quitting. Keep going.
Similar principles apply to nonprofits and public policy initiatives.
Uh-oh. Damn. Go ahead.
When I partnered with the Sierra Club to help them raise money, I learned from my field experiment that men were compelled to give more money when we included a matching gift. Think if you give $100 today, we will match your $100 with an anonymous donor's $100.
But I think they don't say women are different here in the market. But go ahead, you just read that, because maybe this book, sometimes these books were written like in the 1920s or 2020, whatever. Go ahead.
Women, however, were not moved by the match.
Ah.
Of course, I didn't want to abandon female donors, so I explored other avenues, such as small donor gifts. Likewise, when we discovered that our parent academy in Chicago Heights worked only for Hispanic families, we didn't stop there.
There you go.
We began to develop programs, effectively product tweaks,
Yes.
such as an all-day preschool program that did turn out to work among Black and white families.
So now you see why I don't fuck with non-binary language, because there are binary differences in markets. There's habits differences. Men respond this, women respond that. That's okay. It has no reflection on your sexual gender preferences. But we often think that's how the world should work. So now instead of us watching the market and knowing how to open up our mind for creative solutions. Imagine a non-binary person in that space as advisor. They're screwed. But the person said, okay, men buy it for this reason. What would make women buy it for another reason? Oh, this is why they would motivate them. We just test these other ideas. Wow, we hit it. Does it make one inferior superior? Now that's old 1950 white Western male jargon. No, there's no such thing as inferior superior in men and women. It's a waste of our fucking time. Are we inferior superior in maybe something we do in certain times, in certain relationships? Yeah. You know, like the other day, we was in LA, and Zinga fell asleep, and Shakira was walking. I said, baby, we should go back to the car. She said, no, we can walk 2 more blocks with the baby. I said, we should go back to the car and drive her 2 more blocks, because that's a long walk, because my daughter's big now. So she said, oh, I can carry her. I said, okay, well, fuck it, you can carry her. Let's start walking in. So we're walking. She said, baby, hold her real quick for the next block. I said, I ain't got those kind of muscles. I don't. Hey, you know what I'm talking about? I ain't got no hips. I got to just use all biceps. That's like me carrying 60 pounds on the street like this the whole time. I said, babe, it's been a quarter block. You got to come get this baby right there. Come get her. If you need me to push that car, I can push that car. But carry that baby from this block to that block, don't have those muscles. And she like, you hella weak. I was like, yep, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take it because you got to get this baby. Otherwise, she'll be sleeping on the streets with the homeless. I can't carry her, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, we're different in certain areas. It's okay. She's superior when it comes to carrying my daughter. I can't do that. But I can bench press 315 10 times. So we're in 2 different categories. So it's that inferior superior stuff is really done. That's the logic that, okay, I'm with the non-binary people. That's just bullshit. But as far as human behavior and market sales, binary differences. I don't go to Lululemon? Is that it? I don't go to Lululemon looking for shit. Lululemon is not made for my kind of man. Huh? Who? Adidas? Harley? Yeah, it had an item too, but I mean, when you talk about really where I'm gonna spend money, say Adidas, Harley, huh? A little bit of Nike sometimes, shoes, Timberland, Core Smith. Those are my brands. I ain't do too much. I realized I had 7 Core Smith pieces. Trust me, if you know me, you know I like his brand because ain't gonna be no 7 pieces to be some charity shit. It'd have been a handkerchief. Yeah, I got a Core Smith handkerchief right here. See? That's charity purchases. Real purchases is like, I got a sweatsuit, I got 2 jackets, I got some shirts, I got about 3 or 4 hoodies. I got more than 7. God damn. Okay, anyway, let's go.
When scaling programs like these in the messy world,
Wait. When scaling programs like these in the what world?
Messy world.
Keyword, messy. I'm not playing with that. When you think about the world, stop trying to make the world nice, neat, and clean to fit your stories. The world is messy, chaos, random. Keep going.
You may have to look beyond a one-size-fits-all approach.
This is racist. That's systemic racism that we face all the time. When they give us shit, one size should fit all black people, systemic racism. And they call it people of color. Keep going.
So be prepared to make adjustments to ensure that all groups are being served.
Sure, all groups are being served. Ain't that pimpish? Is this the most diverse class you've ever learned where you see the value of diversity as opposed to picking diversity some old virtue call? To say diversity is actually a survival and business necessity. And a business entrepreneur should practice diversity at all time as part of their survival. It's like you living in the wilderness talking about I don't climb trees. Uh-oh, ain't gonna last long. By the way, do you know that the human brain is still attracted to the type of trees that human lives in our early stages of our existence? We still find visual value for those trees. Isn't that crazy? We have a lot of our innate instinctual behavior is all built into our DNA. Even though we moved on to houses and stuff like that, we still find value in the exact same things in nature. Let's jump into some of this, because this is going to be tight. Is it? Any questions on this stuff real quick before? Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking about the oh fuck. Got it
Wait,
back.
wait, free. Was that some old man shit? Look here, boy. I got to tell you something real quick. Oh, fuck. Okay, good. Go ahead, Uncle Court.
It was in the book we read last year for class, and it was talking about how they will make us as black folks think that we're not as intelligent as them in some cases, or IQ tests that show that our intelligence levels are lower, or all these things that compare us to the groups that created the game, not realizing that those games are created for people who think like them. So when they say, hey, let's give this group some money so that they can bring black people up in the hood, and then they'll create the game for black people to follow, for them to get funding or money or training or whatever. And they say, well, you got to show up exactly on time. You got to do this and do that in order to get the funding or money that we are offering you. And they say, see, these people ain't intelligent because they can't even show up, or they can't even stay in the program long enough, not realizing that they haven't done enough research on us to know that we're living in scarcity. We're living we below check to check. We don't have to. We got to go. We can't get a babysitter. There's so many elements to our culture that they don't do the research for, that we'll just get written off as not being intelligent. So that applies to us. That's why we have to break free of the psychology of what people think about us. A, but B, as an entrepreneur, if we don't know the intricacies of our customers, what they're doing right now, like what's your customer doing right now? Like it exists exact time. What show are they watching? What music are they listening to? What song? What video? What are they wearing? If you don't know all those details, it gets tough to really, when shit get hard, for them to choose you.
And add, what is sacred to your customer? If you break one of your sacred customer views, say goodbye to that customer. And sacred views could be, at the end of the day, I'm a hardworking person. That's sacred to me. I love my family. It's sacred to me. I think I'm hella fly. Sacred to me. I love my body. Sacred to me. It can be very superficial. It can be very deep. But the customer you seek to serve, you understand what's sacred to them, because you can use the wrong language. I remember a long time ago, bless her heart, Shakina got victimized. She's young to the game, being a young entrepreneur, doing everything right based upon what she knew. But she brought in this young lady who was 3 years off of dating a white dude, super pro-black. So she was extreme. And Shakina had a class called Build Your Buns for Women Only. So guys couldn't go. Sorry, bro. Couldn't go. But guys can go. Josh, I know you was outside, but you couldn't go. That's why you couldn't get in. But the point is this. Josh, like, Jews should have big booties too. But the point is this. So he had a buzz development course. She had a buns development course. And all she was saying is, come on, ladies, let's get those buns curvy or sexy or something really, but it's all women amongst women. It was no men. And the woman, because of what she deemed as sacred, when she was kind of non-binary, was offended and started to spew negativity about the class. I don't want a person to tell me to get my bun sexy. Now watch this shit. I swear to God on everything I own. Finally, she found a trainer who was non-binary, who trained her and started to finally give her some butt, because she didn't have much booty at all. Stop it, right? Stop it. She just like she wore football pants. Point is this. So, here's a little you hush, okay? Because he hypocrite. Anyway, point is this. Don't give me. I'm gonna cap on you real hard when he say you would leave me alone. So, point is this. So she finally started to get some curves, and then when she was around us, she would start talking about her booty too much. Like, I'm tired of hearing about your booty. Ooh, my booty getting nice. I like the that boy was looking at my booty. Oh, I'm looking at it going like, oh my God. Right? And it wasn't by her deepest code, Shekinah was wrong, is where her mindset was at the time. Her language was breaking her sacred personal beliefs. Shekinah was not wrong. The girl was shifting between beliefs, and at that time, that was sacred to her. If Shekinah had to train her and just her friends, she would have to have the same training to get the girl the same exercise. She just can't say stuff like, let's get sexy. For them women, they didn't want to hear that at that stage of their evolution because they were conscious about their booty shapes. Right? Now, as your face goes, what? That's how non-intuitive this shit really is. It ain't meant for us to understand. I mean, for us to get it. It's meant for us to understand and learn. And so my first thing is, oh, well, you didn't have a booty, and now you got a booty. Now it's okay to be sexy booty, but when you didn't have one, you didn't want to talk about it. But that's trauma from not having a booty and the way people treated her around her booty. Now that she got booty and she finally, what she really wanted, that's why she was even in the class. But while she was there, when she said, let's get those booties curved, here comes this big booty girl talking about, let's get your booty curved. Envy, and I don't have one. You're taking something away from me. I think I can't get, because I never built a booty before. I know I'm saying this is the weirdest conversation, but this is a real dialogue about how people feel. Then when she got her booty built onto her body, now she sounds the way Shekinah was sounding in the class. You see where I'm going with this? That's how much you have to read your customers. That fucking much, that deep. Like, that seems crazy, but like when I'm watching somebody walk in my store, I'm looking at how they wearing their clothes. I mean, like if I'm walking, I'm watching everything you do to know what words are off limits because that's sacred to you.
You don't know how deep this is. It's talking about booties and all that, but
Go to the microphone. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
the complexity of the shit he just said is so deep in business. You don't know how fire this is. Just if you move the booty shit out the way
You
and go
understand me?
deep into what he's saying,
Which I object.
it's the realest shit. I object too.
Yeah, you know, don't ever move the booty out the way. I'm putting that on my measure. Y'all gonna vote for this or not?
This shit is deep. It's the real. Man, it's so real. And it's the context versus content situation. Me and Jordan talk about this all the time. He'll come to me and be like, the customer said this, customer said this. I'm like, he didn't really mean that. This is what really the customer is feeling. Go after that. See what happens. Because they'll switch on you in a heartbeat, not even knowing they switching on you. And you can't blame them. You have to know that that's going to happen.
Yeah. You can't look at it from right, wrong, or they should have said that. Go ahead, Shekinah. Somebody pass the microphone to Shekinah. But it's not that type of variable whatsoever. It's literally that level of customer sensitivity is a necessary must. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say a follow-up, like I think maybe 8 years later from that, is that I did greatly have to change my language with my customers, especially now, because back then I was charging like $50, right? Now I'm charging like $1,500. So my clients that are coming in that are paying $35 for a class, I could say, build your butt, girl, come on, get them cakes. Like, that resonates with them, right?
Yeah.
They in that
Me too. It's
$35
emotional.
class.
Very emotional for me.
But my clients that are paying,
I can't resist. This is one of the moments where I'm gonna be like, Josh, go ahead.
but then,
Yeah, go ahead.
but then I have my clients that are paying me $1,500 a month, and I wish I would say build your buns, because for them, they're paying me $1,500 for the status, for the exclusivity of the gym, for no one to be around, for them to be able to be flawed around me, and like they want the snatched waistline, the bigger butt, the taller posture, but I can't directly say that to them. So I will be like, okay, Amy, like, you're doing such a good job. I noticed you cleaned those reps up so good. Do you feel like you're getting stronger in these reps? And she's like, yeah, I actually picked up some shit today. Like, I didn't throw my back out. And I'm like, great job. If I said, girl, I see your waist got small, you getting snatched. She gonna be like, well, I mean, I didn't work out hard enough today, so and it's, I'm dead ass. Like, I'm not even.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm really, really
That's pretty
serious. It's
good.
kind of.
Is my microphone on still? Yeah, you go. Okay, there you go.
But like, it's crazy because like I have entry level clients, and I got mid level, and I have high level clients, and I didn't really understand how much I needed to shift until I started breaking into different price brackets and understanding that all of my clients had different motives, even though deep down they all wanted the same thing. Whether they wanted to admit it to or not, the human side of it is everybody wants to be sexy, everybody wants to procreate, everybody wants to be desired. But if I wasn't able to speak their language, they wasn't about to run me that number. And the one thing I know how to do is get credit cards on file. So you got to know how to get your money.
All right. That's accurate. Josh, go ahead.
How does this come into conflict with code switching?
What do you mean code switching?
So you're talking about speaking different ways and learning people's language to meet them where
Okay,
they're at.
no. Code switching is looking for approval. So that's personal. So the problem with tying code switching to it, you still personalizing business. If you don't personalize business, business is always changing the face of anything to sell it. That's like you said, you know what? That's like if I told you, hey, if you want to sell more cars, change the paint color. You're like, but that's code switching. You're selling your product to a customer, you're changing, rewrapping it in whatever they need to help them purchase it. Or if you run a commercial in this neighborhood, you have to run it different in this neighborhood. As opposed to, I'm going to change the way I am to make you feel comfortable to accept me. That's key word, me. Right? Code switching is that saying also it suggests that you're the superior person that I need to be, that your acceptance is my everything. Where on the other side of this, what I'm arguing is that, for example, will I adjust my personality talking to customers based upon their trauma? As a leader, I'm the leader of the moment. I'm helping you to embrace this product or service, as opposed to I'm trying to get you to like me. Like I want you to be friend. I think that's the other flaw is sometimes we take these ideas and try to become customer friends. No, that's not even scalable. Your brain only can handle I think 5 to 8 close friends, and then only can know up to 1,500 people, and only can be aware of 150 people. That's not scalable. That's not 150 people is your maximum. 1,500 is as far as you can go. Imagine if Apple said we're gonna stop at 1,500 because that's the only people we can be personal with. But does Apple adjust the experience based upon the customers that come to the store? If you go to the Apple store right now and say your computer's not working, they have policies. How often do they bend those policies for customers based upon making that personal judgment at that moment? They're not code switching. That's the difference. So code switching is I got a job, and I think I got this myth in my brain that the only way I'll be accepted if I act like I'm a white person. So I'm gonna try to talk as white, look as white, tighten my butt cheeks up to the point that even if I got a big booty, it looks flat. And I'm gonna be everything I can to be accepted by these white people. I just want to keep booty as a theme. I'm just gonna let it go in a minute. Just let it go be the theme. Stop. I tell you right now, all my partners voting for me. Look, Corey gonna be running cafe. We be like this. Yeah, let me vote for my partner, man. Whatever. Let me stop because I'm gonna make it take it. Okay, can y'all give me about 15, 20 more minutes to jump in this last part, and then we're gonna just run up out of here. I really can't stand you sometimes. I swear. Can you guys switch seats? All right, let's roll into this new subject. This is such motherfucking game here. Marquita, stay with me because this is the shit that if I was sitting with you right now, I would love to share with you. Hopefully, somebody will get Brownie out the back room, tell her to tune herself in. And most of the black folks that are online right now, I promise you, this is something I always wish I could have taught to everybody. And I will always teach this chapter. So the chapter is called, is it the chef or the ingredient? So start off with the first one, scaling.
Scaling up often reveals the hidden fault lines in an enterprise.
So what is that saying? You can run a small business that use your return. We often don't know when we're working too hard or not working hard enough. It's kind of hard for the human being to measure that because we get so caught up in the measurement with the emotion of the sale that we don't realize we did too much for the sale. The other day, Shakina met up with me and we did a bike ride. It was cold. But anyway, we did a bike ride. And I take my 5T Media Company van and we put our bikes in a van and then we ride to San Leandro because I'm not riding through Oakland no more. It's kind of rough. And so when we finished our bike ride, I was like, yo, I got to get some gas real quick. And I got these 2 gas stations that go to San Leandro all the time because they're always like almost $1 cheaper to 80 cents cheaper. Valero's. So I go to my Valero gas station, the place is closed. So Shakina says to me, yo, Nana, you should fuck with Costco. By the way, Shakina has Costco hidden tattoos all over her body. That is Costco queen. So anyway, so she says, Nana, you should fuck with Costco. I was like, Shakina, yo. She's like, Nana, I think gas was like $5.49. She's like, it's like $4.79. And we down the street. Let's just go. So I was like, fuck it. Because she knows the best deal. I can't front. If you ever look for a deal and you don't feel like looking for it, just ask her, does she know of it? Like, she saved me so much money by switching to Shakina is ridiculous. So I was like, okay, fuck it, I'll ride with you. So we get there. And it's this long ass line. But the line is about 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes to get some gas. And ain't nobody, so I get out the line right away. Fuck this shit. But then we get stuck trying to get out of there because everybody was in the line getting out of that motherfucker. I said, oh my God, I was so mad. So I lost 40 minutes of my life for some goddamn gas. The gas. So now watch this. If you do the calculation, that 30, 40 minutes, people will save between $5 to $15. No, $5. About $5. Because you got to look at the running gas, wait in line, and the time you lost. You're only going to save about $5. Is your time really worth $5? But you don't get that when you're running your own business. Because as long as you're having that emotional, I got gas at a cheaper price, which is that emotional utility, you lose track of your time that it took to get that emotional utility. So a lot of times you guys design these businesses that feel, because you see the numbers go beep, sale, beep, sale, beep, sale, but you forget how much time you use for that. And if that idea scales, you're fucked. Build-A-Bear, there was a company called Build-A-Bear, right? So they became popular real fast because kids can come in there and build their own personalized beer, right? They will work with you, build your beer. And it blew up. And when it blew up, it crashed because they couldn't expand working with kids to keep building beers. How many people going to be? Like, think about, imagine a line if too many people show up. And if you set appointments, it means you already topped how much money you can make because you only have so much space to go build a fucking beer. So another CEO came in and said, guess what? Fuck all that building beer shit. If we do, we're going to outsource it so a machine to build it by them put you in certain information. We're going to sell all this other Build-A-Bear stuff since we already built the brand, and we're going to move away from building beers because it's not scalable. So when you grow certain things in business, you can start magnifying your business through a virtual thought and say, will this scale? Would I go broke doing this shit? Or would I have the margins I'm looking for? Second thing, let me bring something to your attention. When you grow business margins, if a company has a surplus, let's say you look at their bank account and they got $20 million. This is rough. This is really elementary. It's much more complex than this. As a business, you need slack. If you make 20 million, you don't spend 18 million. Because you got to assume that what if next year you only make 4 million or 2 million or you find yourself negative, in a negative. Do you have enough slack to carry you through that year or to redesign your business or to scale yourself towards new opportunities or to weather a lawsuit or to weather whatever the fuck that may happen where you have supply challenges? So in business, if you make $1 million, don't go spend $900,000. Work on spending like even less than that, like less than $500,000. You don't make $1 million to spend $1 million. Because you need slack always in the bank. Then once you get the slack, game on top of game, recognizing game, you find an interest-bearing account and you dump a certain percentage of money that you probably won't use, but it's like a threshold. Let's say your business needs a threshold of like say $500,000. You got $2 million in the bank. At least $1 million should be in an interest-bearing account to $1.5 billion. because 1.5 million could be an interest-bearing account that you can always liquid that cash anytime you want to. You just have to make a phone call, but it's making 3 to 5% interest as opposed to sitting in a fucking chicken account. Just give you some quick game. Let's keep rolling.
That he was able to scale the enterprise at lightning speed was especially impressive because, as a general rule, a chef's special touch in the kitchen is unscalable.
So is this chef? Let me share the back end of the story if you didn't read the book. Some of y'all know y'all sneaky asses didn't read the book. But this guy built his business on making food a certain kind of way, right? And his prices was good. I think he's providing Italian food at a cheaper price. And at some point, he received funding to scale the business. And he started to scale the business in all out through Europe and eventually to the United States. I think Canada, United States, something like that. And so this opening line is talking about this particular business that he scaled. And it said that he was able to scale the enterprise at lightning speed. Man, he's able to expand restaurants hella fast. So when so strategy, insight. When you grow really, really fast, you grow flaws really, really fast. So when you grow really, really fast, you got to become very, very sensitive to look for the flaws as fast as you can before the flaws catch you. There's no such thing as you can grow really, really fast in your business. Don't get me wrong, you will never run a tight, super perfect business, but you got to find those kind of flaws that will cost you millions, billions, or just take you out the game. Keep going.
A person's unique magic at any given specialized skill isn't something that can be mass produced for one simple reason. That person can't be cloned.
So if your business is based upon how you're talented or how dope you are, how good you are, how well you take pictures, how well you do art, the problem with this is that I can't clone you, baby. You can't make that all about you. Mr. Gucci don't make Gucci. Mr. Versace don't make Versace. Mr. Vuitton don't make Vuitton. That's a business. They can mass scale that shit. Matter of fact, Versace don't design shit. Gucci or nobody designed that shit. They may design. I don't know if they designed in the beginning or not. They may or may not. The reality is that a big fashion company is not based upon, oh, he's a dope ass designer. Ask Kanye to design that shit. You own the designs, but you ask if you go to Kanye's house, say, can you make me a pair of tissues before I leave? You can't walk at the house with those shits. Keep going.
To put it in classical economic terms, supply of singular cooking talent is limited no matter how high the demand.
So no matter how high your market demands you, your limitation is you. Keep going.
Which makes scaling a losing bet unless a chef is able to sufficiently pass on her magic to proteges or employees, something that is very hard to do.
So, which is extremely, meaning that I need you to cook exactly the way I cook the food, right? That's why McDonald's could be a crazy business and the super chef somewhere is just a small business because it's hard to scale that. Number two, go back to, I just gave you guys the ingredient. So let's put this all together. You personalize business, you personalize sales, which hurts the way you sell. You personalize making your product. That means you are the chef. You're too personal. Can Corey Smith get a team that's designing clothes and you go, yeah, let's go with that one, not that one, that one, not that one. Corey, which one are you designing? I ain't designing shit. Or does Court have to say, before anything goes out of this company, if I can't really go through the designs and it's absolute, and he has to have a model system to the point that he doesn't even manage quality and design after a while. That's scalable. Where Court Smith can build a system that's producing clothes at a high-ass rate that he doesn't have to be on every piece. Okay, let me see the computer. Let me see. No, move it over there. Okay, that feels better. And he might say, well, my company's hurt by 10%. Does your customer know? Have you ever, okay, so I buy Adidas. Or I even buy Harley. So I bought this shirt, reminds me of the old school English type of conservative with the patches. How long do you think it's going to be available to purchase? Hey, nope. 2 months. There you go, about 2 months. After 2 months, my size is no longer available. Can't buy it again. They don't even give me a chance to rate the quality. Do you think everything they produce is high quality? Matter of fact, there are certain things I got by Harley. This jacket I got behind me, one of my favorite jackets of all jackets, right? Well designed. I got 3 jackets at home from Harley. I will never wear that shit again. Does it hurt my relationship to Harley? No. Because they understand that the way my brain works, as long as you keep giving me hits. Remember they said in the book, how do you manipulate somebody? I gave you out this game a couple of weeks ago. Is I don't consistently always give you what you want. Just every once in a while I give you something amazing. What you guys are trying to do is be perfectionists and always give the client an A. The client needs to have inconsistent A's hitting all the time. But when you get caught in that story of you the coldest, you're trying to always be the A to the customer. I give you hella insights. That should take the fucking ironclad vest you have on off your fucking chest. Keep going.
This explains why so few truly exquisite restaurants ever open in more than one location.
Wait. Did you hear what you said? This is why so few exquisite. So me and y'all too goddamn exquisite. Y'all too motherfucking exquisite. Right, pimp? Too exquisite. That's a word she would use. You exquisite looking motherfuckers. Y'all just too motherfucking exquisite. You touch your white skin in front of me again. See what I'm doing? You're too motherfucking exquisite. What the fuck that mean? I said give me some time. You didn't hear what I said earlier? Exquisite. Shut your exquisite ass up. Exquisite. You know what I'm saying? But you go with this like, this is why black folks, because think about this. You've been stumped on your whole life. You finally start to run a business in your community. You all know if you say you're an entrepreneur in the black community, you got status. Right? And now you got the status. Now you want to be exquisite to prove to motherfuckers why your status is higher than the other entrepreneurs. Now you broke as fuck because you too exquisite. Go ahead. Pass the microphone. Pass the microphone back. If you, I'm not gonna talk to you.
So how does this conflict with what you said, where you have to be consistent and then that person's gonna keep coming to you, like you mess up their status if you're not A all the time?
So when you buy Adidas, you know what to expect. Doesn't mean they always land it, but you know what to expect. Your brain's going to say, well, these pants, they feel like these other pants because they're building for the skinny people, or they're building for the curvy people, they're building for the young people, the old people, right? Because you're mass serving. But it's a certain quality you come to expect that's consistent, right? McDonald's is consistent as fuck, right? But they're not exquisite. McDonald's don't have the best fries. They don't have the finest burgers and beef. Huh? Yeah, you said what? Ice cream? Yeah, it's just, it's like, you said ice cream machine never works.
He said that's consistent. The ice cream machine never worked.
Well, yeah, it depends on which one you go to. But I'm saying, but if you travel, matter of fact, one of the reasons McDonald's is so famous is because when you travel, the trust that goes along with what you expect from them is consistent, right? Where you guys get carried away with is if you guys had a McDonald's, that shit be fly as fuck to the point you throwing away money. You will have marble floors and shit. You'll have digital everything. You wave your hand and somebody know the burger's coming and shit. Motherfuckers coming out to you. They have a Gucci symbol underneath the McDonald's because then all my workers is fly as fuck. What are you doing? I only have, if it's Kaja, he only has organically brought in food that's sustainable by the highest level of hipster food. What the fuck you doing? If you open a McDonald's in a hipster neighborhood, it still needs to be McDonald's. It doesn't change. It doesn't become more exquisite. So they can copy and paste that because they can build procedures and they can train Josh, no matter how hard it is, to work at any of those McDonald's. Yes, I did get you one more time. The point is this, right, is that you got to build something that can scale. Now, can you run a small business that's exquisite? Yes, you could, but it's not scalable. But you got to understand, you created a lifelong job until you decide to pass it on, or you're lucky to find somebody to come along and take over that position. At some point, you got to figure out how, if you want to scale something. And Shakina could tell you from somebody who works her ass off. I'm sure Marquise will tell you shortly after she continues to work her ass off. And other entrepreneurs in this room that's been putting that time in, you will burn out after about 10 years. At some point, you got to be able to say, my job is to go get the jobs, not to stay in there and protect how exquisite it is. You got to build exquisite into you got to build your quality into the system, not your oversight. Even Louis Vuitton, if you don't care what brand you buy, everything you ain't gonna love. Am I lying? Have you ever bought a bad Mercedes? I've seen a bad Mercedes. It look like shit. Some Mercedes look like a Ford Taurus to me. Such poor, ugly ass design, but the price it met that particular market. They're all over the place. You see them Ford Tauruses everywhere with a Mercedes symbol on them. That shit ain't exquisite. Where a Maybach, exquisite.
Marquita asked, she said she has a question because we just said consistency is equal to status. So how do I give them
I said consistency is equal to status?
Earlier?
I said, did I say consistency equals status? Oh, no, consistency not equal to status. Consistency impacts status. You say equal to status, threw me off. Yeah, go ahead.
She said, so how then do I give them amazing every now and then? Are you saying ace it all of the time, but give amazing every now and then?
No, if you make different, okay. Let's say she makes a core sauce, which is plum jelly. I'm making this up. I don't know what the fuck she makes. Plum jelly, right? Now, she has some cool shit, especially her shit is really smart in this weight conscious diabetes world. She has a very smart design product. Which she might be underselling based upon, like, she needs to talk to customers and see how they define the value of her sauce, not what she thinks is valuable. So she's talking about, I went and got all this farm-grown shit, and she might find that most of her customers are pre-diabetics. And she realized, I'm talking the wrong fucking language. I need to talk about how you want to live a long life by eating, still to be able to enjoy sweets without putting your life on the line. Not that long. That's too fucking long. It's too fucking sad. But there's a way of, like, do you want to enjoy life and still enjoy the sweet things in life? Boom. That's her new brand, right? Huh? Well, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig is a little bit too much rational. You ration it a little bit too hard to the conservative side, but it's between Weight Watchers and, say, I would say it's more or less like Coke Zero. Coke Zero is like you could have the fun with original taste and have those old memories you used to have without the guilt, right? Where Weight Watchers is really like focused towards, I identified that my diet is a problem, but I don't want to give up what I want to eat. So it's a slightly different but very close market. And maybe you could, once again, you can expand into that. You can expand into that, right? So, but for her, the main sausage she produces needs to always taste the same, right? But she may start a new flavor called like Classic Coke versus the new Coke. Those are both big markets, and they don't usually like to cross over. She might create Pepsi or create Gatorade, and Gatorade people don't even fuck with sodas, right? Meaning that you create this inconsistency and different experience, but they all don't serve me. But I may like Coca-Cola because I like some of their brands, but I don't like everything they make. Everything ain't for me. But because it's not, when you scale, you can't do that. When you're trying to overplease, you're narrowing your expansion capabilities because you're always trying to make that particular market happy. If I sell Shabisha this jelly every time, she comes to my store, that jelly better be the way it tastes, the right way it's supposed to be wrapped, and it must be designed that says that I love you, Shabisha, and I made this for you, right? Where she can go wrong is start to say to herself, start to overextend her reach to the point that it's not sustainable if she grows the business. If she says, oh, you know what? Every time you come in, I'm going to make it for you right away because I already have it pre-made. I'm just going to make it up for you. If Shabisha grows or that market grows, she's fucked. Right? And because she's making it every time, her consistency is the making of it and making it the way she makes her feel. But if she's quite honest, the taste of it is not consistent. It's not possible. When you hand make something, it's hard to make that shit consistent. Go ahead.
Also, This Is Marketing back in the day, he talked about wabi sabi, right? Wabi sabi is in Japan or other Asian markets back. They're so disciplined in what they do that their products come out perfect every single time. And over time, they learned they get more positive customer response when sometimes they show a little bit of the mistakes, or sometimes it's a little, they have options where it's a little, it's a scratch somewhere, because it shows the humanness of who you are. So we try hella hard to be perfect. Excellence is where we want to be, of course. But sometimes the customer appreciates that you are human, or that you handwritten something. Now, of course, that may not be scalable if you're doing 1,000 a day, but there's certain elements to it. Like if you decide to go off and do I want to try something. Let's put this product out. And maybe your customers don't like it, but they appreciate that you're trying things, and then that's a way that you framed and anchored them. Like, oh, he's innovative. It may have failed, but that's why they give Elon Musk so much. They give him so much slack for being 2 years late on the Cybertruck. Nobody talks shit about him because he's just such a genius. He's trying this, trying that, and his stuff comes out great, but he still sometimes has these flaws. So,
if you ever drove Tesla, that's just amazing. Like the design, Tesla's software, because I think with electrical cars, we should be talking about software value, the software. Because like with regular cars, you want to think about software. With electrical cars, Tesla's, like we went in our first Tesla, I was like, this shit's so fucking smart. And mind you, it's smarter than my BMW. It smokes my BMW intelligence. Like, I'm like, this shit is like I feel like somebody picked me up and took me from place to place and was thinking about everything, right? So when you drive a Tesla and you feel that intelligence, oh, you'll wait on all kind of shit. You'll trust him for all kind of shit. Because now he has a carriage. So I think what happens is that we got the idea of pleasing customer over ratcheted. And now we're over here trying to become the servant of customers as to serve the customers. It's a difference. For example, you go to a restaurant, your waiter serves you, but they don't get on their knees or massaging your fucking feet. There's a difference in the level of that, right? They don't let you like rub them on the ass while you're ordering something. Not yours. Not yours. Okay, you stop. But everybody else, let's stay clean. So, okay, for your adults, she's teaching another class after this class is over. but you don't go at this like there's a difference in the two. Because when you're a perfectionist, you start go over perfecting everything, and you're no longer scalable, right? It's like if you want a high level of consistency, you buy the machine that produces the highest level of consistency. You automate it. But even in the highest level of consistency, if you buy a new car, I promise you, if I walk around every new car, I can find a flaw in all the paint of every car you purchased. It's not possible for a car to be flawless, even when brand new. But can you see it? That's the other point. Your standard of perfection is not the customer standard of perfection. You got a gap about 20 to 30% gap between, like I never got used to take a picture and I'm like, this shit is whack. And the customer be like, oh my God, it's the greatest picture I've ever seen. I'm gonna show everybody. And I'm like, oh no, don't do that. And they put it on their Facebook and everybody's like, oh my God, that shit is the greatest. Because their standards is not my standards.
This is like no one anywhere is going to talk about imperfection and wabi-sabi and how humans actually don't look for perfection in their shopping experiences. It's like what you used to call a canary in a cave, but if you think about your favorite place, it's not perfect. Like favorite lip gloss, if one day you get one that, not you, but if one day you get one that somehow maybe the quality turns faster than it should have, you take it back to the store because you want your lip gloss, they give you a fresh one, they apologize, they exchange it with no problems, and you don't even think about it anymore. Even iPhone, right? It looks beautiful, so there's certain things that they win,
30%
but then,
falls out the gate.
but they're gonna miss it on the software update or something. There's some level of like, I want to see you not be so perfect because then that's a disconnect for me. So like everything in the market, if you were to hop on Google, is going to show perfection. Like there's not another place where we're having conversation around that's not how you build anything for humans. Like in the best thing, guarantee there's something that they missed it on.
Mm-hmm.
And they let it go because humans
see
don't
it.
want you to be perfect in what you offer them. Like that go out, get your brand, do your website, get a logo, make it perfect, make it perfect, make it perfect. It doesn't, that's not. Nobody's
I had a guy
talking
come to me the
about
other day.
this.
He was selling bean pies. He's like, man, I make these really good bean pies, and I feel like my website is just not. It's just my web presence, my internet presence is weak. I said, oh, you're on social media? He's like, yeah. I said, you have a cell phone? He said, yeah. So do us a favor, take pictures of the things about your bean pie that you really love, and then tell the story behind it. Is more important than a beautiful website. That's all a website is going to do is spread a story. If you can just. Country Wayne was so dope to me, or Money's to Car Stereos, where I got my Harley music done, right? You know how I found him? I think I spent at least, he's probably the most popular, most motorcycles that have hella beat, he did them, right? Him and White Boy John. And you know how White Boy John and him blew up? They would get a motorcycle, come in, interview the customers on their cell phone, take pictures of their job, every once in a while show you the progress, and then show the customer excitement. Customer hold up the T-shirt, ugly logo. I got my motorcycle done by Money Car Stereos. Me, marketing snob, took my motorcycle, brand new Harley Davidson. The bike is valued around 60 grand. Took it to him to work on my bike. In his garage at his house.
I mean, and that, even like the farmer's market, I don't know now, but originally people just wanted stuff fresh out the ground from salt of the earth people. Those people look like they've been working the land. Those prices used to reflect that too. But
yeah.
But
Don't
the
fuck with
point
that.
but the point of a farmer's market was to like cut out the middleman, which makes things perfect, and just give it to me straight from the person because I'll take that. I don't need it to
Don't
be
oil
perfect.
my apple. Don't make
do
it
anything
shiny.
to it, just-
You don't do all that. Don't give me that sour ass apple that looks like it's hella sweet. That should be pissing me the fuck off. You ever get a bad watermelon for black people? That is, hey, if you look, I ain't Stalin, and I get a bad watermelon, you gotta go. I know I'm showing my blackness for the hood side, but a bad watermelon, I could really execute some stuff. All right, let me get one more slide in, or let me see, one or two. Yeah, I think one more. I think okay. So, okay, wait. So which one are we on?
We didn't finish this one.
Hey, finish it.
Human talent is difficult, if not impossible, to scale.
Mm-hmm.
The restaurant industry has learned this lesson the hard way, which is why so many of the best chefs in the world are wise to measure the success of their enterprises on the basis of reputation and quality rather than scalability. Oh, a lot of words.
Let me share another trick with you. Let's I can share that. Keep going. We get it. Keep going.
To begin with, the formula of Jamie's Italian scaled so well from the get-go because Oliver's name and face served as a brand that got people in the door.
I mean, he got to the point where he stopped focusing on him making the food till he became the face and brand of trust to bring you that kind of food. Now it allows him no longer to be the front. So, for example, instead of people walking to his business going, hey, where's Jamie at? If Jamie is there, I don't want to eat. Because some of us, I'm sure you built that business where people are asking for that person. To the point your brand becomes that symbol of warmth, trust, hold, and they never need to see you again. But your name is, every time your name is on that, people can guarantee they're going to have this certain kind of experience. So if there's ever a problem, because it's called loss averse. I want to protect myself from a loss. That means if there's a problem, I can call Nana. Or I said, Nana would never said this. Or Nana said this is not the quality, and the company would honor that. Where the other day I went to Calvin Klein. I saw these jeans on Calvin Klein. I was like, because, I'm rocking jeans now. So I'm tired of my sweats. I'm switching over to jeans now. And wear my bell bottoms. So I'm rocking jeans right now, right? And I go to Calvin Klein website, and they had these really, boot cut jeans I thought was hella tight. And I went to buy them. No problem. Went to buy them. And they charged me shipping. I'm almost not used to paying shipping, but fuck it, I'll pay shipping. Then it says if the jeans don't fit and you send it back, it's a $4.95 charge just to return any product to them. I cancel my order on the dot. You don't see me, bro. So you try to tell me that I can't try your clothes on, buy it online, put it on my body, and if it doesn't fit, if the cut is wrong for my body or it doesn't look the way that it translates on the camera, whatever, you're gonna penalize me $5? That's like every time you go to a dressing room, you have to pay $5 for every piece of outfit you try on. If it doesn't fit or not, you didn't buy it, that's gonna cost you $5. Are you going to that store again? I mean, So what I'm saying is that a brand, where they went wrong is, where I go for Adidas, Adidas says, hey, send us back anything. We're gonna take care of you. We'll always take care of you. So that makes me experiment on Adidas website. Oh, I'm gonna try that. I'll try that. Oh, none of this shit fit. Here you go. And then I'm gonna keep some stuff. Now they are trying to think about how do we work on that, because that's a problem for the way the industry works. But if your brand says you will penalize me when you sell me something I can't try on, then only people gonna buy your brand are loyalists. You just shut off your outside market. Like, this is stuff like in business, it's such a psychological shit. That's why the psychology shit that happens in the first part of Hope is your window into understanding your customers. As you work on yourself, you work on your customers. Because if you just work on your customers, you won't be good at it. You'll be inconsistent. But as you learn to feel these psychological challenges, these biases, these behavior, these differences, these systems, these movements, you can just feel them, sense them. It's no different than when you walk down the street and you're like, something feels like it's not right. Because you learn, you've internalized those thoughts, those ideas. Let's finish this slide, and we're going home.
Fame and brand recognition are extremely scalable.
So fame and brand recognition. Your brand, if you build you make your brand famous, it's hella scalable. Keep going.
If people like and trust you.
If they like and trust you. There
And
you go.
Oliver wasn't just a celebrity, but a celebrity chef with earned credibility. However, this alone wouldn't have guaranteed that the chain would thrive at scale. Countless restaurants owned by celebrity chefs and just plain celebrities have failed even before scaling up. What kept customers coming back and new ones coming into Jamie's Italian was that, like the recipes in his cookbooks, the dishes relied on fresh ingredients simply prepared.
Wait a minute. Fresh ingredients, Marquita. Fresh ingredients, Brownie. Fresh ingredients, Shakina. Fresh ingredients simply prepared. That's important. They didn't have complex ingredients with a complex recipe that's hard to duplicate and grow and outsource. Simple ingredients, simple repair allowed him to expand his restaurant. Now, we're not asking Marquita but if she has a simple but smart formula that she can have other people outsource it to co-packing, or Shakina has simple ways of getting people in shape that doesn't require for all of her deep 6, 7, 10, 55 years of knowledge, then that's scalable because she can bring people into that simple system and get them off and running. But if it requires for them to sit down and get a Harvard degree, she's fucked. Keep going.
Rather than on extravagant ingredients or a laborious creative vision. Put simply, Oliver wasn't a Ferran Adria type of chef. His brilliance in the kitchen wasn't an innovative or technical style. It was his everyman approach. This meant that other chefs could easily replicate his cooking, while also allowing a price point for dishes that kept demand high. In this way, he had circumvented the catch-22 that makes most great chefs unscalable. And while Adria's secret ingredient was the man himself, Oliver's secret ingredient was his ingredients. And unlike humans with special talents, ingredients are eminently scalable.
So your ingredients of your business is scalable, your processes, your procedures, how you make stuff, why you do stuff. You can scale the shit out of that. You are not scalable. Your specialty way of doing something. You know, my mother passed down this meal and it requires really slight balance. You're fucked. You can't go that far. You may become a slave to your kitchen. You miss Molly, who's always in the kitchen cooking the perfect soul food. And one day she got sick, she was sick and the food sucked. That's a problem. Miss Molly should be able to go to Africa for 3 months, come back, and the customer base is still growing. Because she built, this is why, what's that place called that everybody go to? Cheesecake Factory is not gonna last long. They try to do that with a massive scale. They got too many products in their product. I don't know if you've been to Cheesecake Factory before. If you've been there before, if you went there in the early stages and went there now, the food change. And because as they expanded, they have too many things to maintain the consistency. So that means freezer food, that automatically just shrinks the quality of the food, right? Where you get a place that's like, that has a very simple approach to food or whatever, very scalable, extremely scalable. Think about if you have to order so many supplies and those supplies go up and down, not available, the price goes up, they go down, shipping goes up, it goes down. Look at your fucking profit margins, up and down, up and down, up and down. This is why if you go to a investor, you're like, I got so many sauces. Investor's like, what the fuck are you saying to me? I need you to simplify this approach. Let's get market saturation. Once you have market saturation, for example, if you already got a truck going to these liquor stores to drop off your chips all the time, it's easy to add sodas to that same truck. It's easy to add cupcakes to the same truck because it's not going to cost you anything extra. You already have the space, and you already have the relationship and distribution, and you can move that product right up. You can go ahead and scale that product. But if you have to add chips and then decide to sell shirts, you got to build a new distribution system. Or if you have 20, think about this, you're trying to get into shelf spaces and you got 5 products and you got me fucked up. Stores are in the business of moving products off the shelf. They don't give a fuck about you. If your product doesn't come off the shelf, fuck your life. And so you got 7 products, 5 products you're trying to get on the shelves, as opposed to I got this product, I can run a hell of a campaign. I'm always driving it. I know how to move it. I'm pulling data. I'm analyzing behavior. I'm changing the story. I'm lining the product. Cool. Now you got market saturation. Let's bring in another flavor. See how that works within the saturation you already have. It won't cost you nothing to test it. You see the difference? Huge difference. It's easier to add another page to a website that works really, really well, as opposed to have a website that says so much that you can't get to work really, really well. Simple approach. Perfect your relationship to the market. Align your product to the market. Then once you have that relationship built, now be able to grow other products into that market because you already built the carriage. You could even bring in competitors' products for a premium to go through your carriage that's well established as long as it meets your standards. See the game difference? But when you make all this shit personal, none of the things I said tonight will never be visible to you. Because it's all about how you felt when they brought your product and what it means to you and people coming to customers and buying. Because I'm so passionate about selling my products. I'm never gonna make money, but you know what? I'm happy because I feel purposeful. My solution for you: join Shakina's booty class. You'll be all right. With that being said, let's have a good night. Josh, not you. Good night.